music.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs it close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races, while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
You gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do, it's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hello and welcome to the Retro Racing Managers League. This is the Grand Prix World Series. We are here for the Young Drivers Test here at the Istanbul Park in Tuzla in Turkey. We've got 2 hours of running. The first running is with the League 2 teams and then the League 1 teams in the second hour. And with it being the Young Drivers Test, Chris Kavaney, who is with me in the conspot today, we're in for some intriguing action actually to learn how quick these particular drivers are, because these are ones who have hardly competed in the Grand Prix World Series, and an opportunity for each of the managers to assess them and consider them as their new drivers for either the rest of the season or for the seasons beyond.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everybody, and this is going to be a very interesting set of hours. Because of course some of these drivers that are taking part today have done some racing. And some, of course, haven't. So some bits a bit up in the air regarding who is going to be where. Of course, there's going to be some teams which are still going to be fast, but in terms of gauging it, it's between 2 teammates. We'll see how it goes. Some pairings are very interesting. I won't say who yet, because we'll go through that in a sec. But I'm actually quite looking forward to looking at some of these drivers today.
I most certainly am as well, and a lot of these names of which the public will be very familiar with. Others may not be as much, but I think this is one of the opportunities to learn who each of these drivers are and how they can get on in these machines. We begin with the League 2 teams at Eurobrunn. We've got the Ferrari Academy driver and Formula 2 race winner Robert Schwartzman alongside the 2013 GP2 Series champion Fabio Lima. And I have to say, Chris, this is one brilliant lineup that team boss David Jans has chosen.
Oh yeah, I'm very looking forward to seeing how Robert Schwartzman does in the car today. Very looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm most certainly looking forward to see how Schwartzman gets on, and potentially one of the popular choices, I think, for a lot of team managers for future seasons. Next up is track speed. We've got Nick Heidfeld, who's previously raced for the team earlier this year, and of course raced for Super Aguri last year. He is alongside the DTM champion Jamie Green, and quite a surprised choice actually from Jamie Green. Chris, can you fill me on his previous experience and why he could be eligible for the Grand Prix World Series?
Well, he has done a test some years ago, but Jamie Green himself, he has, as you said, DTM experience, quite a lot of it, in fact. Yeah, but he's done over 200 plus races, I believe, in DTM. He was given a test some years ago, but He's got, but the good thing about this is we've seen how Nick Heifeld's done in previous races. So this is one of those where you can see how good or bad Jamie Green will be, because we know who to compare it with. We know what they're like.
Yeah, Mike Smith will be hoping a lot from Jamie Green in the session. Move on to HRT. A relatively young lineup. We've got Alex Lynn, who races for the Mahindra Racing Team in Formula E, and of course a former GP2 Series racer and winner, alongside the 2012 GP2 Series champion, that is Davide Falsecchi, who some may know from the comms box alongside Davide Falsecchi for Formula 2 races, and another one to look out for, Chris.
Yes, definitely. Some say he should have got a Formula 1 drive. I mean, I myself personally think so. He got a bit shafted, as it were, in that sense. So in my opinion, in that case, I think he's got speed. So we'll see today.
Yep, most certainly so. And now we go on to your team, Chris. That is the Leighton House squad. And we have Mexico's Pato O'Ward, who is recently a new race winner in IndyCar. He is alongside the German, that is Marco Wittmann. Now, Marco Wittmann may be one of the more less familiar faces, Chris. What can you tell me about him?
He is a two-time, I believe, DTM champion, Marco Wittmann. Someone correct me out there if I'm wrong. But compared to Pat O'Ward, it'd be very interesting because, of course, we know what Pat O'Ward's been about in IndyCar recently. And, of course, he was eligible to do a Red Bull test, I think it was a few years ago. And, of course, he's going to get a new test with McLaren coming up this season. So, I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing how these two do.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to see how they get on the Istanbul track. Next up is the Cologne squad managed by Gemma Dixon. She has the former Saxby driver and a one-time normally aspirated champion of Formula 1, that is Jonathan Palmer, alongside the Alpine Academy driver, that is Christian Lundgaard, who's won races in Formula 2 last year. An interesting lineup there, in mixture of generations there. You got the sort of the daddy, or one of the daddies of the Grand Prix World Series potentially, and one of the young guns in Christian Lundgaard.
Yes, definitely. The Jonathan Palmer, I think his age might show today, but Lundgaard is very young. I think he's 19, isn't he? So it'd be interesting to see how this one goes.
Yeah, I'd like to see Christian Lundgaard do very well. A lot of the young guns have done very, very well in the Grand Prix World Series, and like you say, age could very well come into it, either in today or perhaps when they do race in the Grand Prix World Series in the future. Next up is the Pacific team. Danica Fiat, as we well know, he's previously raced in the Grand Prix World Series this season. He's looking to get some more experience under his belt. He is alongside the Formula 2 race winner and current Formula E driver, that is Sergio Sette Camera. And Sette Camera is an interesting one, Chris, because I personally am a fan of him. Some may not be as much because of the number of single-seater races that he has actually won during his 7 to 8 years in, single-seaters since he's graduated from karting. What can you tell us about this lineup?
It's young, and I know on one side it's certainly quick. I personally believe Daniel Kvyat is a fairly quick driver. We've seen him race before in Grand Prix World Series, so we know what he is like, so we can see how Camera will do. And am I believing it right saying that Camera's only won 3 races in his entire career?
Yeah, that's correct. He won 3 Formula 2 races, one with MP Motorsport at Spa in 2017, the other 2 coming with Dams in Austria and Abu Dhabi in 2019, before he left the series to join the Dragon squad in Formula E at the back end of last season in Berlin, and has been with them since the start of this season. That is the Pacific team. Now we go on to one of the bigger teams of life, who have been, you could say, arguably the fastest, but not the most reliable, but with 2 young guns in Yuri Vips and Sean Galeo, they'll be something of which maybe not just team manager, I'm just trying to remember the manager, that is Andrew Sampson, not just him looking out on these drivers, but other managers as well, because like we've mentioned, age can come into it.
Yes, definitely. I think this car should be topping the times, I believe, this afternoon. But of course, some of it's down to the car, some of it's down to the driver. We will see today. And Sean Galeo, he's done a fair few open wheel races in his life, and I think I don't think he's even won a race, Sean Galeo. So we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. And Yuri Vips, of course, a recent Formula 2 race winner at the weekend in Baku, winning one of the sprint races and then the feature to put him up there in the top 4 in the Formula 2 standings, doing a very, very good job indeed. But how will he get onto the Grand Prix World Series Young Drivers Test? Anything can happen. On to the Real squad, and we've got Neil Yarney, who has already raced for the team this year before he was dropped in favour of Oliver Turvey. He is alongside James Collado, who is a GB2 race winner, I should say, and has also been competing in sports cars more recently. Chris, another one to look out for. I'm not sure how Neil Yarney is going to get on, to be honest with you, but James Collado is something of a question.
Yes, he'll be interesting. I think he's north of 30, but not too much north of 30. So he'll have some driving prowess about him. Of course, Neil Yarney, we've seen how he drives in Grand Prix World Series. So this is an easy comparison, like for like, to see how it will go for them and see if James Collado will even be a choice in the future.
And Ed Hunter will most certainly keep an eye out on James Collado's progress, and he'll be looking to assess him alongside an already existing driver in the Grand Prix World Series. On to the Modena squad that are managed by Paul Twemlow. They have an all-Austrian lineup of Hans Binder and a former Minardi Formula 1 driver, that is Patrick Friesacker. Not sure how to look at this lineup, to be honest with you, Chris, but we know that Patrick Friesacker's got previous Formula 1 experience under his belt. What can we perhaps expect from these two?
Friesacker's going to be faster than Binder. I'm sorry. Binder is 72 years of age, I believe, and I think that will definitely show in the car today. Not going to lie. But Friesacker he knows what to do. He's got the experience. He's 40, so he's got racing resume somewhat. So I think Friesacker should be faster than Binder today.
Yeah, I could agree with that as well. Friesacker will be another one of those to look out for. From Modena to the Force India squad, managed by Ed Spencer. Alex Zanardi, who's already raced for the team this season. He's alongside Sergei Sorokin in the other seat. Sergei Sorokin, who's previously raced for Williams in Formula 1 in 2018. He'll be looking to impress Ed Spencer, who's already used 4 different drivers over the course of the season so far. You are allowed to only use up to 5 over the course of the season. Could Sergei Sorokin be potentially the last of those changes? Because we've been told that Martin Brundle has been dropped by the Force India team, and should Sergei Sorokin impress in this test, Chris, he could well be on Ed Spencer's roster.
Yes, most definitely. I would be a bit nervous for him if I was Ed Spencer, because of course the total of 5, and if the Sorokin experiment goes wrong, he'll have to revert back to who he's already had driving for him. And yeah, so let's hope that the Sorokin gamble, as it were, pays off.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be a fair assessment, actually, to see how Sorokin gets on in the Grand Prix Series. We know that Jack Aiken, who was recently drafted into the squad, has been impressing for Ed Spencer. On to Formula Mattel, managed by Ewan Gale. They have 2 former Formula 1 drivers full-time, of course. Gaston Mazzucane, who's raced for Minardi in 2000 and Prost in 2001. He's alongside Giorgio Pantano, who has done a lot of racing, actually, single-seater racing in the early 2000s before getting that drive for Jordan in 04. Pantano will be looking to impress, as can Mazzucane. And with Formula Mattel, one of the slower teams, if not the slowest team in the League 2 category, I'm not sure what to expect from these two.
Yeah, I feel sorry for these two. It's that if they set times which aren't 25th and 26th, then I think people should consider them. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, because maybe they could be given another chance by other teams in the next test before season 3 begins. But here's the lineup for today. Andrea and Moda have Karun Chandok. As some of you may know, he does a lot of punditry for Sky Sports, but he is a past Formula 1 driver who's raced for HRT and for the Team Lotus team. He's alongside Vincenzo Sospiri, Chris, who has already competed in the Grand Prix World Series this season. Remember, he finished 5th in that race of attrition in Adelaide before he was dropped in favour of Jerome D'Ambrosio. Mm-hmm. But I think Sospiri he's hoping to rebound from that and hopefully put himself within the frame of a race seat for next year.
Yeah, remember he's got a penalty hanging over his head still, so this test is going to be interesting for him because he's going to have to prove his worth, even though if someone wants to take him, he has to start at the back of the grid. So let's see how it is.
Mm-hmm. And Karun Chandok's still in his 30s as well, so he could still be a popular choice for Season 3 and beyond. And finally, the LaRousse team that is managed by Will Knight have Max Chilton, who's previously raced for Mauritius in 2013 and 14, and Lorraine Carter-Kane, the former Jordan and HRT driver. in there as well. Max Chilton's a popular one. Chris, obviously a race driver in IndyCar currently, doing very well in that actually. Narain Karthikeyan, not too sure how he'll get on, but I think Karthikeyan could prove to be one of the surprises in the young driver test.
He could well do. He's had some Formula 1 experiences, and he's some 40-plus races, I believe, in Formula 1, and he's won a couple of races in his junior category, so he's got the resume in terms of being a good driver, but he is 44. Whether that will play a hindrance for him, we'll see.
So Max Chilton and Narain Karthikeyan making up the 26 drivers for the young driver test. Shall we get some action underway here, Chris?
Yes, we should.
Right, and so the young driver test begins with the lead two teams. As you can see, you can currently see what is a leaderboard at the moment. Hans Binder is expected to be the first driver out first, or it may be Narain Karthikeyan actually. But either way, we can talk about how the Grand Prix World Series has been so far, Chris, particularly in Lead 2, because you mentioned some time ago that you'd just be happy to get promotion, but looking at the lead your boys have got so far this season, it looks very, very promising. And are you thinking about the title yet?
I'm still thinking about third, not gonna lie. The 3 wins on the trot collectively with the 2 drivers it's pretty much been this upgrade window that we've had has been quite fortunate for me, I believe. But it's been more of a testament of the car being alive rather than being the fastest, because the live cars are insanely fast, but they have a tendency to sort of have a few issues. HRT is similar, whereas we are more like I'm watching you sort of style, and if you fail, we'll be right there. That's what I'm going for, and it's paying off.
Yeah, and of course you had Alex Wirtz and Robert Wickens in your cars at the beginning of the season. When you dropped Alex Wirtz, I was quite surprised actually, and thought you were being a bit too harsh with him. But now with Will Power and the recent Indy 500 winner Helio Castroneves, you've got 2 Indy 500 winners in your squad. They look very, very promising between now and the end of the season. It's just a matter of just getting to the end of races and not doing what Live have done in recent rounds.
Yes, they have. The thing that I looked at with these 2 drivers, when I saw them, I was like, no one's looked at them yet. Which was, I'm like, okay, they have a good resume. It was certainly, Castroneves is now a 4-time Indy 500 winner, and Will Power, who's won the IndyCar Championship as well. So they have speed, which is what I was going for, and I knew that my car wasn't going to, like I said earlier, it wasn't going to be the fastest. So I decided to go for drivers who were fast to sort of make up for it. And yeah, I'm going to be happy.
And looking at where Leighton House and the team standing so far, they are 39 points ahead of their closest rivals, LaRousse. But crucially, Chris, your team are 70 points clear of 4th place HRT. So if you were to get promotion, remember it's 45 points that a team could get at each round. So you'd be maybe looking to wrap promotion up with 2 or 3 races to spare, which I'm sure will be very, very promising for your guys. And for Will Power and Helio Castroneves, Will Power is currently 3rd in the Lead 2 driver standings on 61 points, 4 points off the top, which is occupied by Alex Rossi and Marino Sato. Helio Castroneves, who's only done 2 races, is on 50 points. But he's the first driver in the Grand Prix World Series, in Grand Prix World Series history, I should say, to have won 2 races in his maiden split series.
Yeah, I'm very happy with how he's doing. I'm definitely going to be keeping this lineup for a while, I think. And I tell you what, I'm going to mention, like, in terms of title fight you mentioned earlier, the one driver I do feel sorry for is Dario Franchitti. He's been so close and should have got some wins that went for his car laying him down, especially what happened a minute ago. I think that when you see Castroneves' wins, they have been off fortune. Not taking anything away from Helio, should I say, sorry, my apologies. But again, you have to be there to win, you have to cross the line to win, so yeah, I'm actually quite happy with what I got.
Yeah, and Leighton House looking very, very strong between now and the end of the season. Let's have a word with the Kavaney boss, that is Gemma Dixon, and she's one of the recent team principals in this one. She joined taking over from what was Chris Buxton's team. Gemma, you've sort of learned the ropes of the Grand Prix World Series. How do you feel it's been for you so far?
I don't think I've learnt yet. it's a learning experience, and I really am enjoying it actually.
Yeah, and do you like the idea when we have this promotion relegation system between two leagues? So now, last year we only had just the one league with 13 teams involved. Now we've got 26, splits it into two leagues with a promotion relegation system involved, having both races on pretty much the same day. It's something that's entertaining for the fans, including you.
You work toward, if you're in the second league, you're working towards going up. If you're in the first, you don't want to get relegated.
Mm-hmm.
So there seems to be more at stake.
I wanted to ask a question. I want to say this. Alan McNish, of course, he's proven to be quite fast if it weren't for his car letting him down. Perrin McCarthy has had quite a shaky few races. Are you looking to replace him? And is this young driver test going to answer that question?
Possibly. That's why I wanted to wait to see what happens before I make the decision.
Good. Over to you, Tom.
Yeah, and I was just looking to see their lineup for the young drivers test. They are Jonathan Palmer and Christian Lundgaard. What can you get out of them? And I know these are the drivers that perhaps Chris Buxton had chosen before you took over the reins of the Kavaney team. What are you expecting from either Palmer or Lundgaard in this session?
Not really. I'm not quite sure about Palmer, but I am expecting Lundgaard to be hopefully fast.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see indeed. I have to say, Chris, I mean, Lundgaard, we mentioned earlier in the show that, you know, the young guns are pretty much showing their class in the Grand Prix World Series. I mean, look at Jack Aiken, how he's doing in the Force India team, who have been really, really poor throughout this season so far. But yet, Jack Aiken has done, let's say, a Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United by helping that team make the way back up, not back up the order, but rejuvenating the squad, let's say.
Only you who's Man United reference into this. I see how it is. But you are very right. You are very right. He has come in and suddenly lit up the room and said, okay, we're going to do this at this racetrack. And is it 2 5th places that he's had, I believe? Or is it at least one 5th place that he's had this season. So, and as you said, it was quite a rocky road for Force India prior to that moment. So yeah, he's done very good, and let's see if Lundgaard does go into the Bologna, will there be the same thing?
Mm-hmm. And to correct you a little bit on Jack Aiken's progress, he had a 4th place in his first outing, a 4th place in Chennai, 5th place in Kyalami, and 11th last time out Istanbul. The next round of the Grand Prix World Series will be next week in Birmingham. Yes, it's Birmingham. We are using the Super Prix circuit, as we did so in Season 1, so we'll most certainly be looking forward to that. Gemma, thank you for your time, and we'll hopefully speak to you again soon, and good luck between now and the end of the season. Let's have a word with the Andrea Moda team principal, Lewis Bassendale, who has Vincenzo Sospiri, and the other driver he has in his squad, just Karun Chandar. Thank you for filming there, Chris. Lewis, how are you today, and how do you think your boys are going to get on?
I think we're going to just have a solid test, to be honest. Nothing too fancy, just put in laps and understand the car a bit more and evaluate the drivers a bit more, because obviously we seem to go through drivers like, I don't know, loads of bread. That's just because of we have zero funding and we need to gain as much funding as possible.
Now, Sospiri, you remember back in Adelaide, he got that 5th place finish in that race of attrition, but we didn't see too much of him, which perhaps contributed to your decision to drop him in favour of Jerome D'Ambrosio, who in his only outing that he had in Istanbul last week, he qualified quite well. I think it was 15th or 16th or something like that, and then retired with mechanical problems in the race. But for the young drivers test, you've got Karun Chandar in the car. Is he going to be potentially be an option between now and the end of the season, depending on how it gets on here?
I mean, it depends, to be honest. Jerome's got more experience than Karun, in my opinion, having obviously done more single-seaters after he left Formula 1. But the problem is, we need to sort of look at this test times and look at the qualifying times and things like that from the next round with Jerome, and then do a data breakdown. We can't just decide on race results unless Karun gets a seat, and I don't want to swap out Jerome before he's had a chance.
I definitely agree with you there. And I have to say, Andrea Moda have been one of the underdog teams so far this season. Looking at where they are in the team standings in League 2, they are currently 12th on 15 points. They've only picked up 1 point in the last 4 rounds. But I think with Jerome D'Ambrosio and Valentino Rossi, who I think Jerome D'Ambrosio, you've got to give him more of a chance than just the 1 round. But Rossi's been impressive.
I mean, it's even more impressive considering he's taking his MotoGP experience and that one test with Ferrari and somehow translating it into single seaters and going off the bat. It just shows he's an adaptable driver with good pace.
So just update on the viewers so far in the session. David Valsecchi set the fastest time so far on a 1 minute 37.6. It's Max Chilton in second on a 1 minute 38.7, followed by Narain Cartagena in third on a 1 minute 38.8, and it's Hans Binder in fourth on a 1 minute 39.7. In case you want to know which teams each team is running, Valsecchi's one of which I forgot which team he's part of, Chris, because there's so many new drivers in the cars so far in this session.
David Valsecchi, oh god, HRT I believe it is. So he's in a fast car, so he should be at the front.
Yeah, so certainly so. So David Valsecchi's shown his craft so far in the HRT squad. Max Chilton, just to remind you which team he's part of, he's part of the LaRue squad, Will Knight's team that is. In fact, Jamie Green's now gone second. The DTM driver, or the former DTM driver for Sax Speed. So it's shown some good pace in the Sax Speed so far as Jamie Green so far, but he is 9/10 off the pace. Narain Cartagena is another one in the LaRue, so both LaRue's drivers have set times so far. Patrick Frisak has now gone third in the Modena on a 1 minute 38.5, nearly a whole second off the pace there. So times are coming in them thick and fast, Chris. I think we've got time to, I was going to say we've got time to speak to a team principal, Sam Hall, but his team are in the League 1 race, but we'll speak to him anyway. Sam, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I did just have to look up, because I've only just arrived at the circuit, I did just have to double check which drivers were running today. We've had so many recently. I mean, we started the season with Tom Cruise, so you know, it's just, yeah. I mean, it's mad. I mean, I'm excited to see what these drivers are going to do in both classes today.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that was another thing. I mean, how do you think his film is getting on since that outing he had in Vancouver?
Well, yeah, he's only destroyed the 7 cars so far. So, I mean, he didn't destroy one of ours. So I'd say, if anything, it's got a little bit worse. Maybe we need to get him back in for another test drive.
So Jamie Green, we can see just making his way back into the pit lane. Just wants to sort of find if there's any more lap times being shown on here. I don't see any more lap times being posted. But how do you see this young driver's test going for both Leagues 1 and 2? Because I can imagine post the young driver's test there's going to be quite a number of changes between now and next week's round in Birmingham.
Yeah, I don't think we're planning on making any changes. I mean, we've got Jake Dennis who's our reserve driver, then Oscar Piastri who's going to be, we're looking at him, being brutally honest, with a view to next year, Piastri, because I think he could be one of those young talents coming through. But obviously we've got Hartley, no, we haven't got Hartley, we got rid of Hartley. We've got Alex Albon and Marco Andretti in the cars at the moment, but there seems to be a real mix of drivers and ages in this. We seem to have a lot of older drivers, especially in League 2, and then a lot of younger drivers who, in theory, should be quicker in League 1. I mean, yeah, I'm just excited to see what this pace is going to be. I mean, we nearly signed David Valsecchi for our team at the start of the year, and at the moment I think he's currently the fastest, so he's proving that we made a bit of an error there.
Yeah, I was just
going to say, it's not the first error that you've made when you cut Brendan Hartley.
No, I actually think that's a good move, because Hartley had done absolutely nothing so far for us this year. He had been, I think Dreadful is being remarkably kind to him. He was having an absolute shocker. I'm just trying to find his results, but I think he'd only actually finished one race and he'd retired from the rest, which really sort of that's a large factor as to why we're down there. I mean, yeah, he'd retired twice, 14th, 13th, and 1 point for finishing 10th in one race. I mean, he was vice champion last year. No one knows what's happened to him this year, really. Hopefully, but good luck to him with his new team. I mean, a fresh start helps everyone sometimes.
Let's touch on yeah, I just want to say something, Sam. Look at Hartley now in the Pacific. He is very much showing his class, and even the back of the good drive from I think from 26th to something like 7th or 8th in Kavaney, and he finished. I think he finished inside the top 3 last time out in Istanbul, didn't he? Chris, do you remember?
He did, yes, he finished third again, albeit due to cars failing at the front. But
Yeah,
yes.
he finished 7th and 3rd in his 2 races with his new team, which, I mean, like I say, sometimes a change of scenery will do it. I mean, how many times we've seen it with drivers where sort of, maybe they don't fall out of love, maybe they do, but the results just for whatever reason dry up at their old team, they go somewhere else and suddenly they rediscover their form. We saw it with Brendan last year. He was woeful the first half of the season, but then turned it on the second half, so good luck to him, like I say.
And of course, Manor are in the drop zone in League 1 at the moment. They are ahead of Prost and comfortably so ahead of MasterCard Lola. So they're not too many points off 40 in the battle for survival. So it could end up being one of those last day Premier League survivals, if I could use that football analogy again, Chris. But yeah, it's going to be a very intense last few rounds between now and the end of the season, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, 40 are safe on, I say safe, they're on 25 points at the moment, then ourselves, Manor on 21, you're just behind us with Prost on 20 points. I mean, really, I think it is between 40 Manor and Prost as to which 2 teams are going to go down. Minardi might get dragged into it. They've had a couple of poor results lately, but I think your 4th place in the last but 1 race, we scored some big points for 6th last time out. I mean, it's getting tense down there. The nerves are definitely flying in the Manor garage. I don't know about the Prost garage.
Yeah, I mean, the Prost at the moment, I mean, I'll go on to the Prost team a little bit later on when the League 1 session begins. But do you think you can survive between now and the end of the season?
I don't think any of the teams down there expected to be in that position. Maybe MasterCard Lola perhaps did, but I mean, they won the pre-season race, so maybe then again they didn't. But yeah, I mean, no one expects to be down there. Everyone expects they'll be able to get out of the situation. We've all seen that if you've got pace at one track, you might not have it at the next. I mean, feasibly, quite feasibly, Prost and Manor could dominate the podium at the next race. We just don't know. It's bonkers, this league, and that's why we enjoy it.
Well, thank you for your time, Sam. We'll hope to speak to you again soon. Let's have a word with the manager of the Force in your team, and how convenient so, because Sergei Sorokin is out on circuit. Ed Spencer, how are you, sir?
Good afternoon, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. We've just seen Alex Zanardi, one of your drivers, post a lap time of a 1:39.0, which is 1.4 seconds off Dario Falsecchi's pace. Sergei Sorokin is out on circuit now. I think he's just posted his time, actually. It was a 1:38.8, actually, so over a 10 faster than Zanardi, but there's still some way to go yet in this session. What are you thinking for this?
I think this is more a test whether we can promote Sorokin. We have made no bounds to the fact we need a second driver, but we're not going to rush into it. We need to just really evaluate Sergei and see what he can do. If he's quicker than Martin, he might be in the shot. We are discussing with League 1 teams to loan out their reserve drivers for us, but you know, at the moment, this is more a test to find out if we can find anyone quicker than Brundle, because the results were not sufficient in that second car. Ever since Jack came, he's set the bar up another level.
And you've mentioned that you've used Brundle, you've used Zanardi, you've used Al Onsa Jr., and you've used Jack Aiken. So you've only got one free transfer. You've only got one transfer of a driver, or one driver you could use left in there. Sergei Sorokin, potentially the favourite to fill in for Brundle, depending on how he gets on here. And you have to say the Force India team have seemed to have picked up a little bit in the last few races compared to where you were at the beginning of the season. We've got some very interesting tracks coming up. We've got Birmingham, which is next week. We've got Imola as well, Magny-Cours, Hockenheim. Those are the circuits you most certainly fancy getting a result at.
I think Birmingham we've got a chance. I'm not sure about Hockenheim because it is a very power-orientated circuit and we've not been very quick on the power circuits. Imola, Magny-Cours, anything can happen there. So we've got a chance, but obviously it all really comes down to qualifying. Jack's qualifying prior to Istanbul was excellent, near the top 10 thereabouts. So it all really depends on that. Obviously, we also need a team effort. We also need Hope and Mugen to quick.
And Force India so far this season, they are ahead of Von Mattel, and they're ahead of Andre Moda and Rial, given that Aiken's recent performances have helped elevate the team up the order to 10th place on 22 points. There's no relegation in League 2, it's just the promotion places that matter, but you're not thinking about promotion at the moment, it's more about foundation to build on for Season 3.
Of course, we'd like to be in the promotion hunt, but it's obviously we're too far back. The start of the season was particularly terrible. Having a double-engine failure in Toronto was a complete disgrace, and Al Unser Jr. deciding to park in front of my pit wall was a sackable offence already. So we're looking at trying to build on for next year, but it will also depend whether we can keep Jack for next year, because Jack I would suspect is going to be high in demand for the rest of the top League 2 teams, and we'd like to keep him, but we are not going to hold him prisoner. We're going to, if he gets out off from a higher team, we'll accept it, and we'll have to look for a new driver.
I want to offer some persuasion as to why you should put Sorokin in, right? Martin Brundle is 62 years of age. Sorokin is only 25. Do you think that would be enough to persuade you to put him in the car?
Very persuaded. The age factor has helped. We've gone with older drivers before, and it has not worked. So we have to look for youth on our side. I want Sergei to do well. I want Sergei to do well this session. But if he's only a marginal improvement on Martin, then we're going to have to look slightly elsewhere. We're not handcuffed to Sorokin. We have to make our mind up pretty quickly, because we've got the next round coming up in Birmingham. Then we've got Imola, which are going to need, we're going to need some luck there to get results. So if Sergei can deliver the goods, if he's in the top 15 and he's quicker than Brundle, then he's in definitely. But we're not going to shop at the first, we're not going to take the first item and run and put it in our shopping basket. We're going to have a look around. We're going to try and negotiate with other teams to potentially loan out their reserves if they are okay with it, or potentially another young driver in here if we're allowed to do it, because there's a number of top young drivers in this test that we are keeping tabs on, and we may poach. We don't know yet. We'll see what happens at the end of today.
I was just going to say, we've just seen some other lap times. Of course, Jonathan Palmer's just recently posted a 39 dead in the Kavaney, and we can see on the screen Marco Wittmann in Leighton House. Chris, passes in the first sector, so he's over, I think, 3 or 4 hundredths up in sector 1, and we'll want to see what his sector 2 time is like as well. So this is an opportunity to perhaps have a look, Ed, to see how you think Marco Wittmann can get on, in case he could potentially be an option for your team. He's over a 10th down in sector 2 alone, so he's pretty much tooth and nail really between now and the final sector as he comes into turn 12. Very nicely done.
Iconic backstraight, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and we'd obviously love Formula 1 to be going there. Maybe later this year, perhaps maybe do a little bit more running on the circuit so that the track's not as slippery as it was last year when Formula 1 raced there. But Marco Wittmann crossed over the line. It's a 37.8, so he's 2 tenths away from Valseki's lap time, but it's still good enough to put him second fastest overall.
Not bad. I'm happy with that. You happy with that, Ed? Are you going to take Marco Wittmann instead?
Well, we're going to have a look. I'll bring a bottle of wine to negotiate.
No worries, dude.
No worries. Anyway, thank you for your time, Ed, and enjoy the session. Pleasure. And good luck between now and the end of the season.
Pleasure. Thank you, gents.
You're welcome.
I was just going to say, looking at the session as we are just in a bit of a pause at the minute, Sergei Sorokin for Ed Spencer has set a time over a 10th faster than his compatriot, which is Alex Zanardi. So, not compatriot, what do I mean? Teammate, that's what I mean.
Teammate, yeah.
Yeah, so he's done a 10th faster than Zanardi. Was Zanardi better than Brundle? That's probably up in the air on that one. I think Brundle finished ahead of Zanardi at every chance. I think. So, is a 10th encouraging enough for Ed Spencer?
I don't know. I mean, if you look at Jack Aiken, see how he gets on, he needs ideally another driver that's similar to Aiken at the moment with regards to pace. But we've got what looks like Robert Schwartzman, who will be making his way, or is it James Collado actually, who's going to be the next driver to post a lap time. Robert Schwartzman's in the pits. Danica Fiat is out on circuit right now. Can't really tell if he's on an outlap or on a fast lap time. We'll find out in a moment.
He's just coming out. Yeah, when they're all hashes that you can see all the times on the sectors, that means he's just come out. So he's just warming his tyres up, going around the iconic turn 8, and I'm sure he'll get his tyres in the right window by his start time.
Marco Wittmann coming back into the pits. He'll be very happy with his effort to Davide Valsecchi. I think if Davide Valsecchi's lap time is not going to be beaten between now and the end of the session, whilst the team manager of what is HRT, on Monroe, even he may not choose to take him on, considering the performance that Sutil and Franchitti have been doing for him already. Other teams will most certainly be asking for his signature.
Yeah, I've as I said earlier, I feel sorry for Franchitti. I think he should have won at least one race this season, especially here a week ago when we saw it on the start-finish line, didn't we? Like with less than 10 laps to go, his gearbox gave up on him, I believe it was, which is just so gut-wrenching, especially that close to the end. But regarding Valsecchi, I thought it was a very good time. Bear in mind, the HRT is one of the more powerful cars in the world. I believe it has 770-something horsepower, I believe. So it's a lot compared to some relatives. I think the only team that has more is the Life car.
And Dario Franchitti, out of 8 races this year, he's failed to finish in 5 of them. The other results have been a 2nd in Genai, a 4th place in Fuji, and a 19th place in Yongam. I think Yongam was the one where he retired on the last lap, I think.
Yeah, that was a very interesting race in itself. That circuit can cause a lot of things to happen, especially with the narrow walls.
But Franchitti is most definitely finding form at the moment. But HRT have got a lot of ground to make up if they were to get promoted between now and the end of the season. Let's go on to Danica Fiat on his lap, because he's 2 tenths down on Dario Valsecchi's time through sector 1. Sector 2 is over a 10th down as well, so he's about 3 tenths away, or over 3 tenths away from Valsecchi's lap time, so he's probably going to go behind Wittmann on this run.
Yeah, it seems like the Pacific cars, there isn't a lot of power in the Pacific cars. I believe it's just shy of 740, and I say compared to HRT, which is 770 something, is quite a gap. And you can see that, and it's definitely in the last sector. Look, he's half a tenth down in the last sector, just seen there, nearly half a tenth. So that would mean that's a power sector, isn't it? So you can see the power difference. But I think still that's a very good time by Danica Fiat. We know what he can do because we've seen him race, so I think that's not too bad. It's more a case of what can his teammate do.
And Danica Fiat's time 8 tenths off Dario Valsecchi's pace. That puts him just ahead of Jamie Green in 3rd place out of 13 drivers who have set lap times so far. Now the next driver we expect to be crossing over the line to complete a lap is Robert Schwartzman, because we saw him go around on his outlap. So far on his run, he's 2 tenths down in sector 1. He's nearly 2 tenths down alone in sector 2 alone. So this is probably going to put him either 3rd or 4th, I'd reckon.
Yeah, I would say so. Again, Eurobrun, I think Eurobrun has more power than the Pacific that we just saw. So this final sector might not be as big as a gap as the last one. So he might actually be okay regarding his time. And 3rd place, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a bad lap time that from Robert Schwartzman. Over half a second off the pace, but nevertheless, still a very good lap time. You can see Fabio Lima, who's also on a flying lap. He's nearly 2 tenths down in sector 1. In sector 2, he's 2 tenths down as well, so he's 4 tenths away at the moment on the fastest lap time. This is probably going to be similar to Schwartzman's, I would reckon.
Yeah, if not, maybe quicker. I mean, if you were to tell me on glance who's quicker out of Schwartzman or Lima, It might be close, but I'd say okay. I was gonna say actually Lima would be quickest, but I've been proven wrong.
Yeah. Well, it was only 1,000 away from Robert Schwartzman, so we did say it was going to be very similar. So almost identical lap times between Schwartzman and Lima. So they've done very good jobs there in the Europe runs. Next up behind, we expect it to be, I think it's Sergio Sette Camera, who may well be on an outlap, Chris, unless I'm wrong.
I believe you are. I believe you are correct in that one. This is it seems to be Pato Ward now coming up now. Pato Ward, is it right?
Yeah, so Pato Ward in what looks like, it almost looks like a Leighton House actually. Yeah, but yeah, it is a Leighton House. Yes, I'm right. I was looking at the onboard thinking, is it actually a Leighton House he's in? Yes, it is a Leighton House. So he's out on the circuit now on his outlap. Fabio Lima probably not going to go quicker because his tyres will be more worn by the second lap than he did so on the first. But I'd say Ward, this is a great opportunity to see how he gets on here, Chris. And whilst we mentioned earlier on that he may not be an option right now for you to put in your driver lineup, but for other teams, this is very good. This is a great opportunity for them to see how he gets on here.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to seeing how he does. I like him as a driver in general, and I think he's young, energetic, he's fast. No, he's only 22 years of age, and he's won an IndyCar race, as we saw not too long ago, and he's won Indy Lights, which is very good. And I want to say he's a very good qualifier as well, because in his Indy Lights career, in his latter season, out of the 10 races that he did, do you know how many times he was on pole in those last 10 races? 7. So
7 out of 10 races.
Yes, he was. So in terms of qualifying, I think in terms of a one lap pace like we could see today, it could be very interesting.
And after Pato Ward, it'll be Neil Yarney next up, and then after Yarney, we expect it to be Nick Heidfeld in the Sack Speed. So those are the next 3 drivers, or the next 2 drivers after Pato Ward. But we can go on board with Pato Ward for a lap, Chris. Take us on a lap round the Istanbul Park circuit.
No worries, if the camera will stick with him. Yeah, third or second gear corner around here, going a bit down the hill, then swoops up, going through the gears, up to probably one of the more slower sections other than the last few corners. Around here is more third or second gears, swooping around. We saw of course in the Formula 1 race last year, there was some interesting situation happening in this section. And now this corner opens out, going again down the hill as we are now on board with Power Ward. Coming across the first sector line, he sets I say purple, it's a red in this case, but the fastest first sector by 2/10, coming up towards the famous turn 8. Now this is where lots of confidence, you want to hug the first apex and swoop it right around, which he does beautifully. Well done, Pato. Heading down the hill towards the very second gear corner, towards the next sector line. Let's see where this puts him in compared to Davide Valsecchi. Across the line, sector 2, even quicker, another 10. So this is a very good one lap. He's coming now to the long straight. Now this is where the HD should be better because it has more power than the Leighton houses. So don't expect the delta to be too much here. Good on the brakes here, swooping around the final few corners now, tucking that apex beautifully, and then going into second, third gear, and now he's bombing it for the line. That's where one lap of Istanbul, and he posts, please be a good one, and it's going to be first, a 1:37.325. That is, again, like I said, the sector 3 wasn't the fastest because it's not the most powerful car, but very good.
Yeah, nearly 3/10 faster than anyone else so far in this session. So a very good lap there from Pato Ward. That puts him ahead of Davide Valsecchi with that lap. There is Nick Heidfeld, as you can see on screen, and in the background is the Real of Neil Yarney. Now, Neil Yarney, and Chris, he has struggled so far this season. He was dropped after the Jedi race in favour of Oliver Turvey. I don't expect we can see much from him in this one.
No, I don't think so either. It's more of a seeing a comparison to see how his mate in the Young Drivers Test will do. Film me on who it was again. I can't believe I've forgotten. I think you've already seen him already. James Collado, I believe, is more of a case of a gauge to see how Collado will do with Yarney. But I'm actually worried about how close these two are on track, because they hope they don't trip each other over, because if that happens in a session as this, that's a bit of a well, especially when they can only do one time lap realistically, if they trip over each other, then that's basically screws your chance to show how good you are.
Yeah. The screen's cut away from my end at the moment, but he was considerably slower than Pato Award in Sector 1. But he was quite close to Heifel on that run, so you may have to fill me in, Chris, on
I can tell you that he said a 39.2, 139.2, so it puts him in 16th place.
So Neil Yanni in 16th position. The only driver behind him is Hans Binder, so Neil Yanni not having a good lap there. So we go to Nick Heifel, who will have just started his flying lap in the Zach speed. And I think with Nick Heifel, he's pretty much a hit and miss. He's one of the more unpredictable drivers. We feel that he can do such a great job, but on the day, he's rather more shaky.
Yeah, he's 4 tenths down in the or nearly 4 tenths down in the first sector with Nick Heifel. But yes, he has been very up and down. Of course, I think in the first season of Grand Prix Series, I thought he did all right. But if you may have to serve me more knowledge on that one, but it seems like this season it's definitely been different for him, a bit more adversity. But again, he's another what looks like nearly 3 tenths down again on the second sector, and that car hasn't exactly got a lot of power in it compared to the HRT and what's my team again? Lanehouse. That's it. The power compared to that. So I don't think this time is going to be good for him, I had to say. And now he crosses the line. Let's see who he puts. Oh, 6th place. I mean, a second behind the Leighton House, but not bad. Let's see how his teammate can do.
Yeah, so Nick Heifel posting the 6th fastest time, is a 38.4 for the German. The next one up from him is Sergio Sette Camera in the Pacific, followed by Yuri Vips in the, I forgot which team that Yuri Vips is in, so you might have to fill me in that, Chris.
In the live car.
In the live car, that's it, thank you. And after Yuri Vips, it's Giorgio Pantano in the Von Metal. So next up is Sette Camera. Now I don't know what to expect from Sette Camera because he's still young. I mean, he's younger than both of us, but this is very new to him, it's the Grand Prix World Series, and given his single-seater experience, in F2 and GB3, possibly over Formula 3, as well as the Formula E Championship he's been competing in, is there a lot we can hope for from Sette Camera?
Well, you said it, he's young, and young and energetic. He's just coming across the line now to start his lap. In terms of his Formula 2 experience, he's done a lot of races, but what exactly has come of it? 3 race wins, as we said earlier. That, I mean, compared to Danny Kvyat, who's already done some Formula 1 driving, who, in my experience, actually, Kvyat, I think, I know there's not enough cars on the grid for Formula 1, but I wish I could see him still on the grid, because I still think he's quick. Camera, is he quicker than Kvyat? Oh, that's a close call. On that one.
So, whilst we're looking at Sergio Sette Camera on screen, we've got an update on where we are in the standings. Pato Award fastest by nearly 0.3 of a second from David Falsecki. Then it's Marco Wittmann making it 2 Leighton Houses in the top 3. Then it's Robert Schwartzman and Fabio Lima in the Europe runs, and I said the live then. In the Europe runs in 4th and 5th. It's Nick Heifel, Sack Speed in 6th place, over Danny Kvyat in 7th. So I think Sette Camera will be hoping for a similar lap time, if not better, than Kvyat.
Yeah, I would certainly say so. If he, I mean, what is he? He's 3 tenths down in the first sector, which seems to be a recurring pattern for some of these drivers. And then it's nearly another 3 tenths again. We saw that with Heifeld, and he came in about 6th place. So let's see what this final sector does for him. The Pacific car, I don't think had as much power. Let's find out. He's coming across the line now. He's going to post a time that is bang on 6th place. There we go. So he actually goes ahead of Danny Kvyat.
So he goes ahead of Kvyat by just looking at the times. He's nearly 2 tenths faster than Kvyat. So Sette Camera producing a very decent lap in a Pacific, which we do know is not the quickest car. We saw it in the early stages of the season, actually, where Pacific were leading the race for quite some time, before Kvyat binned it in the wall, which cost him the race win, but crucially that was a non-championship race, but still that was pretty much the beginning of the decline of the Pacific squad.
Unfortunately, yes, but now I may turn attention to this. Now is the first life car to come out of the track. The life cars have been blisteringly fast. I think they've set the most pole positions in the League 2 category, I believe, collectively. So this is going to be interesting now to see what Vips can do. He's young compared to... He's got experience, but that car is mighty fast. 10th and a half away from award, but I expect later on in this lap that life car to possibly set a fastest Sector 3.
So Yuri Vips, who finished 4th in the Formula 3 Championship in 2019, he was meant to be racing in the Super Formula Championship, but due to visa issues and with COVID restrictions over in Japan, he wasn't able to compete in that and was racing in the Formula Regional European Championship and made 8 race appearances for the Dams team in Formula 2 in 2020 in place of the injured Sean Galeo, who ironically is his teammate in the Young Drivers Test here. And this year so far for High Tech, he has won 2 races in Baku last weekend, the maiden race wins of his career, and he's put himself in the top 4 in the driver's standings in that. So over the course of this lap for Vips, he's over half a second away from O'Ward's time. Now, can the last sector be the one where he makes up for that?
Should have
over the line.
Yep, there you go.
So yeah, he's definitely made up time in the last sector alone. So Vips goes up to 3rd overall behind O'Ward and Valsicki, pushing Wittmann down to 4th place.
Not bad, that. Not gonna lie. The maybe the car spoke a bit more than the driver in that time, possibly. But remember, he is young, and it's setting in 3rd place. I mean, you went ahead of Marco Wittmann, so that's not bad.
So Giorgio Pantano is on a flying lap as well in the first of the Fonmatels. Gaston Matscane will be going out a little bit later on, but Pantano is over 6 tenths down in sector 1. We're not expecting Fonmatel to be anywhere near the quickest, given how Fonmatel have been slow this season with you and Gale's squad. Pantano coming into sector 2, it's probably going to be in the 32s. Alone in sector 2, yes it is, so he's well away from where he needs to be, so he's going to be around about where Hans Binder is.
Yeah, I can tell you with confidence that Ewan Gale has spent no money on the power whatsoever, I don't think, in the Fonmatel. So I think they're on the lovely round number 700 brake horsepower. They put the money's in the reliability. I think they're funnily enough, the most reliable car in the grid is that Fonmatel. But of course, in this test right now, reliability is not a factor. It's about the out-and-out drive, and yeah, that time I think says it all.
Yeah, so 2 seconds down from Pato O'Ward's time, but at least Pantano goes in front of Hans Binder on that by over 3 tenths of a second here behind Neil Gianni on that run. But I don't think Pantano is as slow as what the times show, because the Fonmatel, as we've already mentioned, is one of the slowest in the field. So I'd love to see Pantano be given more of an opportunity in future tests or in maybe next season's championship. Here is it looks like Binder. It looks like he's going on another run actually in the
Yeah, it seems that maybe in his old age he forgot that he went out earlier, so he's going out again.
Okay, so that's him going on a run. Who's that behind in there? That's not
Probably Pantano, who's just done his lap, and Binder's come out in front of him.
Okay, so Binder coming out, so he doesn't want to hold up Pantano too much in case Pantano is on a faster lap time than the Austrian.
This is an interesting. I believe Pantano's. Now we're going to see the other life car, which is Sean Galeo. This one is a beaut because this one has been given a special review just because of Sean Galeo in itself, and you can see, ta-da, everybody, enjoy the beauty that is the KFC life car. Ooh yeah, have a go at that.
Yeah, and how finger-licking is that? Sean Galeo's machine there, and this is something I'm looking forward to. I mean, if Sean Galeo impresses in this, then I can imagine with the livery he could potentially bring to whichever team, someone is going to want to have him.
Finger licking good indeed. Again, this is the life car, the most powerful car in this league. So again, this time should be, as we cut to Binder, the opposite end of the spectrum regarding age, but the life car should be again near the top. Will he go ahead of Yuri Vips. Let's see.
So we're right on board with Christian Lundgaard. Now we're on board with Sean Galeo, who is on his outlap. We should perhaps go to Binder because he's on his outlap. Well, he's on another lap actually in the Modena. We could be going to him rather than Galeo, but we're currently on Galeo at the moment, who's just preparing to start his flying lap in the Life. So running turn 12 and 13 and through 14, and this is an opportunity to see how he gets on here. Yeah.
I would say, consider out of the two drivers, out of Binder and Galeo, which time I prefer to see? I'd prefer to see Galeo's because he's got more speed. But I'm worried though because Lundgaard is coming out of the pits soon. Is he gonna? Oh, there he is. Oh, is he gonna?
Oh, yeah, that's gonna hold him up big time. That's not very good that from Lundgaard. I think, to be honest though, oh yeah, he's completely holding him up there. So yeah, we'll have a look at his sector time and think about how much he's lost there as than Galeo. So yeah, he's come out actually in front of.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, really. Can Galeo get through on the inside into turn 7? The answer is no, he can't. Yeah, he's well down. But I think, to be honest, with it being a 34-2, I think we can consider maybe 3 or 4 tenths minimum that he's lost. Probably more than that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he's going to get a nice toe, to be fair. But Lundgaard, I'm not going to lie, I feel like Sean Galeo's time now is completely unrepresentative. I feel bad for him because Lundgaard's been a bit naughty there. Whether we can slap penalties on in young drivers test, but maybe I'm just joking. Maybe not.
Yeah, I think that's probably too draconian. With it being the young drivers test, we can see Galeo getting a bit of a toe, but he is continuing to lose time behind Lundgaard is the Indonesian. So if we watch him go over the line, we'll be able to assess how much time he has lost over the course of this lap.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's going to be a horrible lap, isn't it?
Oh, he's so faster than some.
Yeah, well, it's not faster than some. But that tells you something. That tells you something about how quick the live car is and how Galeo has got on. So I would say at the very, very minimum, he has lost at least a second.
Yeah, I think I would say I would have put him closer to. I would say I put him close to Vips, obviously his teammate on that one. Now we can see Lundgaard after being so helpful to Mr. Galeo. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if Galeo could ruin his lap, maybe out of anger. But a 34-0 in the first sector, that's a common theme amongst some drivers to be 3 or 4 tenths in the first sector away. But again, I think that Kavaney's got quite a lot of power in it.
Yeah, so the time that Christian Lundgaard's teammate Jonathan Palmer had set was a 39 dead. So he'll be looking to beat that, to be honest with you, and go into the high 1-minute 38. But he's posted a 34-0 on Galeo getting on the inside, look. So Galeo trying to get his own back on the Kavaney. He's got through on the Kavaney. Now this is going to be quite something post-session, to be honest with you, between these two. Maybe not a penalty dished out with it being the young drivers test, but there's certainly going to be some feelings towards both drivers.
Yeah, I wonder, he probably would have lost about 3 or 4 tenths in that passing in that line, and yet he's going to get held up even more because Galeo's going to be slowing a little bit. Yeah. That's naughty. It was naughty in the beginning with Lundgaard, and it was naughty at the end with Galeo there. Yeah. Slap on wrist for both.
Yeah. And I think Lundgaard's going to go behind Palmer now with this one. Yeah, he's a 39.8 on that run for Christian Lundgaard. I think that serves him right for the way he held Galeo up on his lap. So Lundgaard, the slowest of all the drivers so far, even behind Hannes Binder actually. We've got 3 drivers yet to do a lap in this session. Alex Lynn is next up, followed by Vincenzo Sospiri, and then Gaston Mazzacane.
Oh, here comes Lynn now.
So Lynn out in the HRT. Now this is one I'm most certainly looking forward to. HRT, one of the most powerful teams. Not the most reliable, as we've seen from Franchitti and Sutil this season, but I would expect them to be in the realms of O'Ward and Valsecchi.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if this would be the fastest time of the day. I wouldn't be at all surprised. It's a mixture of that car being quick and Alex Lynn is a fast driver. We've seen it, haven't we, in previous Formula. You're going to have to fill me in on his racing record because me and Alex Lynn, I don't really know much of.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex Lynn is one of only 2 Formula E drivers. If you were to exclude the very first Formula E race in Beijing in 2014, Alex Lynn is one of only 2 drivers to have taken pole position on his debut. Jean-Luc Vergne's the other one.
Oh wow! So yeah, that's pretty impressive. So in terms of qualifying, you should be all right then. Of course, though, in terms of races, Saturday is one thing, Sunday is another, isn't it? So and now we see Suspiri coming out.
So Suspiri making his way out onto the circuit. Remember, he's already competed in the Grand Prix World Series this season. He's picked up an amazing 5th place in that race of attrition race in Adelaide. But other than that, he hasn't done too much else. Lynn coming over the line to start his flying lap in the HRT, riding on board with the man. I think he's from, I don't think he's from Norfolk, is Alex Lynn, is he?
I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
well, you know, that makes a difference with his pace.
He is, in fact, from somewhere called, he was born in Goodmays, is Alex Lynn. You're trying to look up. Yeah, Goodmays is, yeah, it's in Greater London. Goodmays is in Greater London is where Alex Lynn was born. Not exactly sure whereabouts he was raised, as sometimes with people born in somewhere different to where they were raised. It's like with Max Verstappen, because although he is Dutch, he was in fact born in Belgium.
Yeah, it's different places. But I tell you this though, this is different between what we've seen before. He's only half a tenth behind O'Ward now, rather than the usual 3 tenths. So something is happening in this lap. Could this be a red sector 2? It could be a red sector 3, possibly, if that life car that Yuri Vips did earlier. Will he top that? Let's see if it's a red hit. Oh, it's very close again.
Yeah, he's over a tenth away from O'Ward's time, but this is where it comes like, because we mentioned earlier about how powerful the HRT is, so I would expect this is very much going to be on par with O'Ward.
Definitely. Could this even be? I don't think it even needs to be a purple sector 3 for this to be a fast time. This is very close.
So Lynn coming down the start from the straight over the line. Is this going to be the fastest time of all? It is. He is fast. 3,000 of a second. He did manage to rebound from being slower in the first 2 sectors to pull out a brilliant sector 3. And he goes fastest by just 0.003 of a second. A very good lap time there from Alex Lynn.
Very impressive, very impressive. A purple sector 3, so he was actually faster than Vips in sector 3, which says something to me, because the life car has, I think, 10 or 15 more BHP than the HRT. But Lynn was faster. So I think that's down to the driver on that one. So that tells me that Lynn possibly is a better driver than Vips.
Yeah. Well, we'll go to Vincenzo Sospiri now in the Andrea Moda. I don't expect him to overhaul Alex Lynn with this run. He's in sector 1, he's 9 tenths down. In sector 2 alone, he's 7 tenths down. So he's 1.6 seconds off the pace, and I would expect him to be in the realms of Binder and Lundgaard with this lap.
Yeah, this is going to be, unfortunately, a bit at the other end of the spectrum, isn't it? Let's have a look coming across the line. 1:39.8. So yeah, it's slower. I think is that even slower than Lundgaard getting held up?
No, I think Lundgaard's time is slower than Suspiri. Yeah, but I don't think we can say that Lundgaard's lap was an anomaly as well as Galeo's. So, but this is Gaston Mazzucano, who's the last driver to complete a fast lap time. He is currently 7 tenths down in sector 1 alone, which for a Fond Mattel is not too bad. Sector 2 alone is 7 tenths down, so 1.4 seconds off the pace so far on this lap is the Argentine. Coming down the back straight towards turn 12. He could even go faster than his teammate, actually, Giorgio Pansno, could Mazzucano. So interesting to see how he gets on here in the last few corners.
Yeah, he's looking to be beating a 39.3 coming across the line here. With only a few minutes left in the session to go, let's see what this is going to be. It is 39.7, so 4 tenths less than his teammate, I believe. That's what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think he lost a lot of time in the last set, so I think the lack of power is what cost Mazzucano, to be honest with you. But at least he goes ahead of Suspiri and Lundgaard with that time. And we have 26 times on the board, Chris. Now, if you were to exclude the anomalies of Lundgaard and Galeo, you have to say that there's definitely at least another second in there for them, which would very much put them well up higher than where they've ended up.
especially with Gemma was considering possibly putting Lundgaard in the car. This has really not been helpful regarding making that decision. I would say, even so, I would put Lundgaard in the car ahead of McCarthy. Not gonna lie, the time that he lost on that was unfortunate. The tripping over. His time is not representative. Even so, I would say put Lundgaard in over Perry McCarthy.
Yeah, I would most certainly give Lundgaard a chance, because there's definitely more pace in that Kavaney. He just needs to make sure he doesn't act as reckless as what he was on the racetrack when him and Galea were out on the circuit. But here's Carter Cairns, who is on an outlap at the moment. I don't know if he's doing a recon Nason's lap or something before he comes back into the pits. We'll find out in a moment.
Yeah, the session's nearly at an end. Sorry to interrupt. The session's nearly at an end, so he's probably just. I think some of the drivers early on set the time. I think he's one of the first. I think he was the first person to go out, so maybe he just wants to go out again just for the feel of it, you know.
Yeah, so Carter Cairns has a chance to maybe improve on his time. We have had a lot of cars going out on circuit, so I think with the track conditions as they are, that may benefit Carter Cairns a little bit more. I'm not saying this is going to be an option for Will Knight, given that how Alexander Rossi and Callum Ilott have been doing this season. They've been splendid, those two. It's just a shame that reliability hasn't quite been on their side over the course of the season so far. But Carter Cairns, this is an opportunity to find out how he gets on with this lap.
Yeah, I think he can do as many laps as he wants and he won't get in that seat, not going to lie to you, because the LaRouche team has been very unlucky recently. Well, even though they've got some points now, but remember, Alexander Rossi's had to do it back of the grid, penalties, and I think Ilott had to do the same. So it's the LaRouche team, in terms of where they are in the standings, probably isn't as fully representative as you might think. But I think that the car is certainly faster than the second in the championship, actually, because now I say that. They should really be more than that, realistically, I think. Of course, they're 39 behind the Leighton House. I probably should realistically be closer than that, probably more like 15 or 10.
Mm-hmm. And having a look at Carter Cairns' lap here so far, in sector 1 he's over half a second away, in sector 2 he's another 4/10 off. So he's about a second off Lynn's time by this stage. Now, Carter Cairns' lap time he had set earlier was a 1:38.8. I would expect him it would be around about a similar lap time, I would reckon.
Yeah, he's done a personal best in sector 3, and he's done a 38.9. So not sure that's not improving, is it? That's being a few hundredths less.
Yeah, so it's definitely a slower time for Carter Cairns on this run than he had set earlier on. I don't know how long we've got left of this session. We've only got a fair few minutes remaining here.
I think less than that. You know, I think a few seconds left. I'm not going to lie to you. So in terms of, there you go, qualifying is over.
Yeah, so the session is over. So the young drivers test for the lead 2 teams has ended. Let's take a look to see how it's ended up. Alex Lynn fastest by 0.003 of a second over Pato O'Ward. It's Davide Falsecchi in the HRT in 3rd, less than 0.3 off the pace. It's Yuri Vips ahead of Marco Wittmann. Then it's Robert Schwartzman and Fabio Lima, 2 Eurobronze in 6th and 7th with almost identical lap times. Sergio Sette-Camera in the Pacific in 8th. And it's Nick Heifel in 9th, over a second off the pace. Then it's Danny Kafir. There's Jamie Green ahead of Patrick Friesacker. Max Chilton ahead of Sergei Sorokin. Then it's Narain Carter Cairns ahead of Sean Galeo, who lost time after being stuck behind Lundgaard. That's not a representative time for Galeo by any means. Jonathan Palmer ahead of Alex Zanardi. It's James Collado ahead of Karun Chandok. Neil Yarni ahead of Giorgio Pantone. That's Hans Binder, Gaston Mazzacane, Vincenzo Sospiri, and then Christian Lundgaard, who got held up by Galeo on his run as well. But by no means that was representative, so I think other than the Galeo and Lundgaard's times, I think we've pretty much got what we needed from that lead 2 session. Chris, your thoughts?
I'm actually impressed by Binder, you know, not being last, the 72-year-old. I'm very impressed by that.
Yeah, and I'm sure his fans will be very impressed with him on that run. But that's not all the action though, Chris, because we've still got the League 1 teams young drivers test to come, and there's a lot to look out for, especially for teams that are going either for the title, teams who are trying to stay off relegation. There's a lot to look forward to, and you don't have too long to wait. We'll be back in around 5 minutes time with the League 1 young drivers test.
Ah, what music!
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy. Let me drive.
I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm, tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when you run so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it. Those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
When we get you prime, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory. So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. Sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
You gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner, perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do, it's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
fine. Then let's race.
Welcome back, guys, for the Young Drivers Test here at Istanbul Park. And Chris, I think, given what we've seen so far, it was a very, very interesting League 2 session there. Now we're on to the League 1 teams, where we've got a lot of the big guns in there going for the title, those trying to avoid relegation. This is an opportunity to really assess what they want to do between now and the remaining 8 rounds of the season. Yeah, definitely. There is obviously there is a team which is doing very well at the minute with their 2 drivers. I'm not sure what they're probably going to be sticking with their main 2. But regarding other teams, there's the Scuderia Italias, there's the the 40 Corsairs, which has been interesting. Dare I mention your own Prosts? Maybe I don't know, but I think we're in for another interesting session. Mm-hmm. Let's have a look at those teams then, and then we can get some action on the way here at Istanbul Park. We begin with the reigning teams champions. They are BAR. They have Jean-Luc Verne, the reigning champion, of course. It's hard to think that he's in a young driver's test, given that he is the reigning champion of the series. But he's one of the reserve drivers after he was dropped temporarily in favour of Nick de Vries. The next driver alongside him is Guido van der Garde, who has not raced before in the Grand Prix World Series, so it's an opportunity for him to get some experience under his belt. The former catering driver alongside Jean-Luc Verne at BAR. Nothing more needs to be said. Let's go on to Manor, who used to have Brendan Hartley, who was the vice champion in there, but now has Jake Dennis and Oscar Piastri on his roster. Chris, an interesting lineup there, actually. Jake Dennis, who's recently won a Formula E race in Valencia. Oscar Piastri, a race winner himself in Formula 2. A very mixture of talent. Yeah, and young as well on the certain side of Piastri. He's only, 20 years of age. So that's good. That's got something good going for him. And of course, Piastri, he's Formula 2 right now, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah, but he's been a title in junior categories. He's won a title in junior categories. So he's got something in him. 20 years of age. Yeah, exciting. Mm-hmm. So Piastri, with his commitments within the Alpine Academy and his commitments in Formula 2, he's looking to impress in the Grand Prix World Series. Hopefully in the future, potentially as an option to a lot of teams, not just to Manor. Arrows are next up. Emma Butterworth's team have Julian Palmer, the son of father Jonathan, who was doing the young drivers test in the League 2 session earlier today. He's alongside another Brit, that is Gary Paffett, the former Mercedes test driver, who has also won DTM championships and has raced in Formula E for HWO Race Lab. And another one to look out for, Chris. Yeah, I mean, Paffett, albeit being 40 years old, he's of age. He's a 2-time DTM champion. Has done some 180, I believe, DTM races, which will help it. Of course, those aren't open wheelers, so it's not exactly the same as a Formula 1, but it's still good racing experience. Very much so. Julian Palmer hoping to do better than what his father Jonathan had done in the Coloni earlier today. From Arrows to the Prost team, that is of course managed by me, Felipe Nasr, who's already done 2 races this season. His highlight being he's back at the grid drive from 23rd to 8th in Fuji. He's looking to impress, maybe not just to the Prost team, but to other teams as well. Alongside him, who's not done any form of experience within the Grand Prix World Series, that is Christian Klein, who you may remember has competed in Formula 1 for Jaguar, Red Bull and HRT. His best result being a 5th place finish in the Chinese Grand Prix in 2005. And Christian Klein, Chris, what do you make of his prospects, and how do you think Felipe Nasr is going to get on as well? Of the 2, I'm more interested to see how Klein will do. We've seen what Nasr could do in Grand Prix World Series, as you said. So this is a good chance to see how representative Klein and Nasr are compared to each other, because we can see what it's like. And it's very interesting for you, I think, because I think you possibly are looking at Klein, maybe not for this year, but next year. Yeah, most certainly options for possibly for this season as well, because Prost are currently in the relegation zone, 2nd from bottom, and around about 6 or 7 points from safety. So this is something for me to look at before the next race in Birmingham. From Prost to Topher Smith's Super Aguri team, they have Oliver Rowland, who's a race winner himself in Formula E. He's alongside the Frenchman Loic Duval, who's also a former Formula E driver. Chris, your thoughts? I am quite a fan of Loic Duval, not going to lie to you. I think he's a very good driver. He's of course he's a WEC champion. So he's got the experience. He's won Le Mans as well. He's done quite a few races in WEC. So that, in terms of his resume, stands out there. Of course, he's done some DTM, I believe, or Blancpain, one of the 2.
But he's also won in a title in a junior category some while ago. So I think this is a very interesting look at Loic Duval.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to see how Roland gets on as well. Still one of the young guns as well. He's won a Formula E race this season, I believe. I'm trying to remember which round it was this season. I think it was one of the Rome races that he had won in Formula E. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Tova Smith's the Formula E person, so he may have to fill me in on that. Either way...
Yeah. Either way, I want to say as well, Roland, he won a title in junior category as well. So this is an interesting test to see how they do.
Yeah. So we go on to the Simtek team, and this is an interesting one, because there's two Delatrazes in there. Louis Delatraz, the younger of the two, his father, John Denny Delatraz, who has previously raced in the Grand Prix World Series with 40 last year. Louis Delatraz has yet to race in the Grand Prix World Series this season, but this is going to be quite a fair assessment between these two by the time they get out onto the racetrack.
I know Scott Willis was very excited to put these two drivers in. He was very keen. He messaged me when this young drivers test was up and running. He was the first one to message me that he wanted both Delatrazes in the car. I don't know why, because Scott Dixon and Stoffel van Dorn are doing such a good job, so I doubt that either of these two will do it. But he was very keen to see how I get on. I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't be at all surprised, because of the power of that Simtek, if one of these two is at the front.
Louis Delatraz hoping to be one of the fastest in the session. I think, to be fair with Jean Denis Delatraz there, if Louis Delatraz does outperform by quite some way, that could give young Louis the motivation he needs to boost his chances of getting into the Grand Prix World Series for future seasons. From Simtek to AGS, that is managed by Phil Kinch. They have the Malaysian driver, that is Jasman Javar. Correct me if I've mispronounced that. He's alongside the Italian Marfiel Marciello, who has done brilliantly in GP2 previously. He's now competing in sports cars. Chris, another interesting lineup there. I haven't seen any of Javar in any form of motor racing, so you may have to fill me in on this individual.
I could tell you that in junior categories, he has only won one race out of 51 races that he has done. So in terms of all that experience, not quite there for Jafar, but he has taken part in a form of endurance racing, whether it be so it's not about he has 2 wins in a form of endurance category. I can't remember if it's World Endurance Championship or another category, but he has a resume too as well, and he's done some Blanc Pan as well, I believe, 32 races somewhat. So it's not bad. It's just a name that, of course, I mean, I've not really heard this name a lot, just like you, but it'd be interesting to see nonetheless. Yeah. Marciello is not a bad comparison.
Yeah, Marciello, who's won the FIA GT World Cup in 2019. He's also won the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup in 2018. And, of course, the Formula 3 European Championship in 2013. So quite a resume for the Italian there. Plenty to look forward to with this individual in the on-drivers test. Moving on from AGS to Minardi, that are managed by Teapot. Previously, Alex Goldsmith, it was. He has 2 Spaniards in his roster. That is Martinet, who's a race winner in Taupo last season. He is alongside Daniel Juncadella, who I do remember from his Formula 3 Europe days, actually, Chris.
Yeah, I think he's in terms of his junior category resume, it's very impressive for Juncadella. He's won 2 junior category titles, 2, which is very good. And it also begs the question, how the hell did he not get in Formula 1 with that sort of resume? But hey.
And he's a Formula 3 European champion as well with the Prema team in 2012. But since then, he's not really been on the radar, let's say, in comparison. But he has been a test and reserve driver to Formula E teams. He was the test driver for HWA Race Lab in 2018-19. And then the season after that, he was a reserve driver for, that was now the revamped Mercedes EQ team. And so far at the moment, this year in 2021, after just 1 race, he is second in the GT World Challenge in European Endurance Cup. So,
not bad.
Yeah, not too bad indeed. And best of luck to Martinet as well, as we do hope to see him back in the Grand Prix World Series very, very soon. From Minardi to Ryan Ferris's Onyx team, Takuma Sato, as we well know, he's taken pole positions, has come close to a race win this season as well. Onyx, who of course won last week, I should say, courtesy of Sebastian Bourdais, the driver who stood in for Takuma Sato. The Japanese drivers alongside Alexander Sims. who has already won Formula E races in the past. He won in Berlin, and of course he won in Diriyah in season 6. Sims, good opportunity to shine. Maybe not for Onyx, but for other teams, definitely someone to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup that Brian has now with those two, I would say with Nakajima and Bourdais, he might stick with for a while. But yeah, Sims, he's got a lot to shout out for himself. And again, with Sato beside him in this test, it's a fair comparison. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And this is definitely one to look out for. I expect both the Onyx drivers to be very, very quick in this young drivers test. So going from Onyx to the MasterCard Lola team, who already have an all-female driver lineup. There's another female driver in their roster, that is Catherine Legg, alongside the Malaysian driver who's raced in GP2 in the past. That is Nabil Jeffrey. Chris, your thoughts?
Jeffrey, I'm just looking at his race record. It doesn't look that all appealing, if I'm honest with you. 44 races in junior categories and not had a single podium or win or anything. Well, he's 27, so it's not like he's lost his touch, if he had any. But Catherine Leggy, I pronounce her surname, my apologies. That would be... I don't quite know what to make of this. Would these two possibly near the back? I don't know.
So with Catherine Legg, she is competing currently in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with the Team Hardpoint team in, I think that's like the Porsche make team. She's also competed in a couple of races in Formula E, and she's competed in the Jaguar I-Pace E Trophy. That used to be part of it. That was a support series to Formula E before that is no longer existent. I think with Nabil Jeffrey, I'm trying to have a look to see what his best results were in the GP2 series, and as you mentioned there, it's not too promising. In 2016 or 2017, when it was Formula 2, his best finish was 9th, but in GP2 in 2016, his best finish was 7th in Baku, which was his only finish over the course of that season. So yeah, I expect both of these drivers to be towards the back end of the field for the young drivers test.
If anything, Leg will be ahead, possibly.
Yeah, possibly as well. I could agree with it. On to BMS Scuderia Italia. That is managed by Emma Featherstone. She has the current Formula 2 Championship leader, that is Guan Yu Zhou, alongside the Formula E champion of Season 1, that is Nelson Piquet Jr. Quite a difference between these two guys. You know, you could say it's different generations in terms of the eras of which they are in motorsport at the moment. But Piquet Jr. is an interesting one because he's one of those I'm actually surprised that no one has actually gone for.
Yeah, Mr. Crashgate himself. Yeah, he has a good resume. Not gonna lie, he's done Formula 1 races. I believe he got a podium in Formula 1. And yeah, I think, like I agree with you. He should be considered, and he did Formula E as well. Did well in that. So yeah, why is no one touted for him? You know.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, Piquet Jr. did get a podium finish in Formula 1 at the 2008 German Grand Prix, where he came from 17th on the grid to finish a fight in second in the race. Fantastic effort that day from him, but nothing else too impressive, really, from Piquet's perspective. But he is a Formula E champion. His last Formula E appearance was with the Jaguar team in Season 5. And best of luck to him, as well as Guan Yu Zhou, as we do expect him to be towards the top of the timing pages. On to Michael Gillespie's Midland team, Dan Titsum and Lewis Williamson, I should say, nearly mispronounced it there. But let's talk about Dan Titsum first, because obviously he's the more controversial figure, but yeah, he's one of the most talented at the moment in terms of young guns. He's definitely coming alive, Dan Titsum, this year. Now, if you remember, obviously, what he did in Formula 4, we don't need to mention too much about that, but in Formula 2 this year and last year, and what he could bring to the table in the Grand Prix World Series, definitely someone to look out for.
Yeah, he's very fast, and I actually think he's got the best livery of racing helmet that I have in the Formula 2 categories as well. I think his racing helmet is gorgeous. It's a shame it's on him, but anyway, but he is very, very fast, and he has shown it, and I think he could be fast today.
Yeah, he's won 2 Formula 2 races in his career. It was a sprint race at Silverstone last year and one of the sprint races in Monaco this year. Looking at Lewis Williamson's CV, he's competed in the GP3 series from 2011 to 2013. I'm not sure if he picked up any race wins in that. He did pick up 1 race win in 2011 with the Arden team. Other than that, it's been pretty much sports cars in the last few years. But he won the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup in the Pro-Am category So that's something on his CV there. So I think it's predominantly sports cars that Williamson has been very much involved with. But he may well be one of the surprises in this session. We'll have to wait and see. Moving on from Midland, we've finally got the 40 team who have Luca Badera, who's done one appearance this season in Kyle Lamy for Dave Goddard's team. Could well see him back on the grid in future races. And Marcus Armstrong, the young gun, who could very well impress. And given what we've seen from Roy Nissani, who's done a splendid job in the first few races of his GPWS career, Marcus Armstrong could be someone to be very much kept an eye on, not just by Dave Goddard, but by the other team managers.
Definitely. Again, another young gun, 20 years of age. He's doing very well. I think he is quick. I genuinely think so, and people should watch out for him. Certainly in the future. Compared to Luca Badera, I think he'll be faster than him.
Yeah, and Armstrong, who is a runner-up in Formula 3 in 2019. He's yet to win a race in Formula 2 since his debut in the series last year, but there's definitely more to come from him this year for sure within the Dams team. And can he produce as good of a performance within 40 in the Young Drivers Test today? Well, that's all the 26 drivers from the League 1 grid for the Young Drivers Test. Let's get some action underway. We're all right on the board currently with Lloyd Javal, but looking at the order in terms of what we're expecting to see, Lloyd Javal is expected to be the first driver out, Chris.
Yes, I am very keen to see what he can do. He might post a time, and then that time might be there for a while until he gets beaten, possibly by one of the Delatrasses, as it might be. But it'd be certainly interesting to see.
Yeah, remember the fastest time we had in the League 2 Young Drivers Test was by Alex Lynn with a 1 minute 37.3. The next fastest was Pato Awad, that was only 0.003 of a second slower.
Yes, it'd be very interesting for sure. Could it be faster than the League 2 times? Maybe not, because I think these cars are not as powerful because the owners have been more sensible regarding their money, regarding reliability, but we'll see.
Yep, and whilst we're waiting for Javel to get on with his lap, we've got the Onyx team principal Ryan Ferris with us as well. Ryan, very welcome to the comms box. And what are you hoping for from this session? Because obviously you've got Sato, who's obviously raced for you this season and last. What's his targets for this session, would you say?
Well, obviously we know that Sato is fast. He's shown that to us by getting pole position times. So effectively, I feel he is a benchmark for everyone in this session. And he was one of the faster drivers in the Young Driver Test last season. So I feel anyone who's going faster than him is definitely someone to be looking out for the teams. And then for Sims, it's just generally gauging his performance against Sato. We know obviously this car goes around this track well, having got the win last week, and also the fastest lap last week. So yeah, it's just a general test, just to gauge the field and how well our car stacks up still.
And you've also got Alexander Sims alongside Sato, so I don't know if he's targeting beating Sato in this session, but if he can get as good of a time as what we've seen from the League 2 session, he's going to be very much on the market, not just for you, but for other team managers, as we mentioned earlier in the show.
Yes, obviously with that, Sato is going to be wanting to put the fastest time in possible and beating Sims, because obviously having been relegated to the testing role, the last thing he wants is the young gun coming in who isn't actually contracted to anyone to be putting a faster lap time in, because then that could put his job in jeopardy, but we'll see how it goes.
May I interject a question here? May I interject? So you have obviously just won a race here. Congratulations with Seti Bourdais. So is first place in constructors on the cards?
I think from after the first few races this season, it's always been on the cards. However, we did have a few poor performances in the last few races leading up to the last race, and then I think by bringing in Bourdais and him getting that win, that has definitely brought us back into contention for the Constructors' Championship, and it's definitely something to look out for, because we may not have the fastest car on the grid, but we we've generally, touch wood, had better reliability where the faster cars haven't. So that's, I think, our strong point for this season.
And Ole, so far this season, 34 points off the top team that are Super Aguri. Syntax second on 120, Onyx third on 106. And that victory of yours has obviously boosted your points total drastically, but you need to be scoring more consistently than you are doing so, because I think you haven't had both drivers scoring in the same race since the second round of the season in, as far as I can remember, Adelaide.
Yeah, it was a bit unlucky for Nakajima. He had the throttle problem, I believe, in the last race. However, he did manage to bag a fastest lap point, so in the last race. So, I mean, technically you could say we had both cars scoring, but obviously not in the top 10. I feel with the pace that Nakajima had in the last race, he should have been scoring if it wasn't for his throttle management problem.
And we've got a few times on the board now, Chris and Ryan. Lewis Williamson, out of the 3 drivers, is the fastest. Lloyd Javel's second on a 1:38.6, and Alexander Sims third on a 38.9. So Sims slowest of the 3, but Williamson producing some very good pace, Chris.
Yeah, very impressive, very impressive. And Sims there with the 3/10 behind. I mean, that's not the end of the world in the bonus time, but it'd be interesting to see what his teammate Sato can do in comparison.
Yeah, if you look to the times, I think the top 16 were below 1:39, so you have to say that I think Sims is going to be very much in the midfield, to be honest with you, but Williamson's time definitely one to beat so far, but there's going to be plenty of fast drivers out there. Who are you tipping to be fastest in this session then, Ryan, given the lineups?
It is a tough one. I mean, I think we got to discount the Simtex with 2 Delatrans. I don't see them being any quick, but I got to say Sato, I'll be interested to see what he can manage, seeing as he was fast when we had the Bruno test. And I also like the look of PK Jr. Like you already said, I'm amazed no one's actually picked him up as of yet.
So we're just waiting for the next driver to cross over line to start the final lap. The 4th driver to go out, that would be Luca Badera, but he seems to be stuck in the pits at the moment, or was stuck in the pits, so we're expecting to see him out on track very, very shortly. We're just riding on board with Nelson Piquet Jr., who is sat in the garage. He, I believe, is the next driver after Luca Badera to head out on circuit. And Chris, it's been quite an interesting, well, I say it's an interesting session. We've only had 3 drivers testing the times, but what can we see in this session that was different to the League 2 session earlier?
I would say that the cars, I think in general, aren't as powerful as the League 2 ones, because I said the League 2 owners have been more power happy than they have reliability happy. So expect the times to possibly not be close, but at the same time, regarding job safety, there are going to, because of League 1, possible relegation. There might be some teams who are more interested in swapping out drivers just for the sake of trying to get a good driver to get a result. So it could be interesting, this one, because teams won't want to go down.
No, of course not. And whilst waiting for Luca Badera to start his final lap, we'll take the opportunity to speak to the team principal of the Midland squad, Michael Gillespie. And you've got Dan Tixon and Lewis Williamson, who has just set the fastest time of the session so far. Bear in mind, we've only had 3 drivers set time so far. How confident are you feeling with these boys?
Enough to give them the position of the test driver role. We'll see how it goes, and well, it's early days at the moment. Only a few people have set times, but we'll see what happens at the end, basically.
And Dan Tixon is an interesting choice. Nobody went for him in their lineups at the beginning of the season. But do you think by the time that season 3 does begin, do you think we're going to see a lot more of the young guns being given a chance competitively full time?
I think so, yeah. They have more to go compared to. I'm not going to say there has been, but the older gentlemen, I think. Yeah.
So looking at. Go on, Chris.
I had a question. Yeah, so of course, Paul de Rest has been very impressive for you because he got a fourth place in Japan for you, which was a very good result for him. And the teammate Thiago Monteiro has been quite rocky as of late. So do you think that, especially seeing Williamson's put up quite a good time early on, do you think that might make Williamson have the seat?
I'm not going to count my chickens just yet, but it'll be put into consideration for sure. But...
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. How are you feeling between now and the end of the season, Michael? Because Midland are sitting, I wouldn't want to say precarious, but they are sort of on the bubble with the realms of Midland, 40, Manor and Prostar. You've got whether you are scoring good points between now and the end of the season, because I reckon there's going to be a lot of races between now and the end of the season where teams like you, Minardi, 40, Prost, Manor and possibly MasterCard Lola scoring big points all in one race.
We'll see. I think it's really just a case of safety for us. We haven't really been on the cusp of any sort of podium in any of the races, so really some decent points finish. It's all about safety for us, just making it into that top 10 place and thinking about next season.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time, Michael. Best of luck in this session and best of luck between now and the end of the season.
You too.
Thank you. Chris, we've just seen Luca Badera crossing over the line in the 40. It's a 39.5 for him. Now he's nearly a whole second away from Williamson's time. We can see Nelson Piquet, whose time is faster than Williamson. So this is a good opportunity to see how Piquet gets on between now and the end of the lap. It's going to be a 1 minute 38 dead, which puts him to the top of the time pages by quite some way.
Yeah, very impressive that. Very impressive. The what's it called? The Scuderia Talents, isn't it? That is. But that's very good considering the power that it has. Go fast about half a tenth, is that? Pretty easy.
Yeah, very decent indeed. Marcus Armstrong's next over the line. He's on his fine lap. So far in sector 1, he's nearly half a second away from PK's. Sector 2, he's 3/10 off. So I think he's going to be a whole second away from PK's lap time. It's a 39.3. So it's a slow lap time that for Armstrong. But bearing in mind, he is in a 40.
You say that, but 40 and Scuderia Italia have the same amount of brake horsepower in each one, 730 something, 732 I believe. So I think that's a testament of age.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Well, look, comparing Armstrong's to Badera's time, he's only 2/10 faster.
Yeah, possibly, but remember Armstrong is very young. He's not just young, he's very young. So that there is... because of course he hasn't quite reached his prime yet. I'd say a prime driver for an age is probably about 23 years of age, possibly. So before then they're leading up to it. Would you agree with that? So he's only 20, Armstrong?
Yeah, something like that. 21.
So he hasn't quite reached his peak yet. So maybe that's why.
Yeah. Well, he's most definitely younger than me anyway, and he's part of the Ferrari Driver Academy. Is Armstrong. And this is in his second full season in F2, this time with the Dams. Well, he was with ART last year. This year he's with Dams. And I think, would I say he's having a better season this year than he is in the ART? I do think so. It's just a matter of time before luck is finally on his side. He's just coming through the last few corners. I don't think he's going to be on a faster time than set before he's coming into the pits, is Armstrong. So we're just looking to see who is the next driver to cross over the line. That'll be Jean-Luc Verne in the BAR, followed by Oscar Piastri in the Manor, and then Catherine Legg in the MasterCard Lola.
It'd be interesting. I'm keen to see, because of course we've seen what Jean Verne can do in races, where that puts him amongst the whole board, to be honest with you. It'd be very interesting to see.
So far with the 6 times, just to run down, Nelson Piquet Jr. fastest on a 38 dead, and it's Lewis Williamson in second on a 38.5 in he's trying to remember which team he's part of. It's the Midland. Yeah, it's the Midland car he's in. Then it's Lloyd Javel third in the... Just looking at the leaderboard, it's the Super Aguri that he's in, Lloyd Javel, who's a 38.6. It's Alexander Sims in 4th place in the Onyx on a 38.9. It's Marcus Armstrong in 5th for 40 on a 39.3, and it's Luca Badera in 6th on a 39.5.
Yeah, this will be the one driver that's going to come out soon is, or if he's out already, is Piastri. I'm keen to see what he can do today. Yeah, again, another young gun in I personally think is not a bad car. Where will he be on the time boards? I don't know, but compared to Verne, if he gets faster than Verne, props to him.
Yeah, Piastri definitely considerably younger than Jean-Eric Vergne, although Jean-Eric Vergne is still in his early 30s, I think, and he's a two-time Formula E champion, so it's clear to see that Jean-Eric Vergne still has it in him, and his racecraft is impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see if he can try and get a job for next season. Because could Verne be in a different team next year? I think that would be an interesting question.
It is a very, very interesting topic there, and I'm not sure what Tom Butterworth's plans are for next season yet. BAR are relatively safe from relegation. I don't think they'll be going down, but for next season they need to think about the title charge once again with whoever is going to be in the seats. Now remember, he's dropped Sebastian Buemi halfway through last season in favour of Pascal Wehrlein, but yet Wehrlein didn't do as good of a job as Buemi, so I think Butterworth has got to be careful with what he wishes for here as he watches Jean-Eric Vergne start his flying lap in the BAR.
Yeah, where are they in the tables? They're bang in the middle, 7th place. They got a podium last time out, which is encouraging. But let's see.
Yeah, I was just going to say BAR are 7th in the standings on 64 points. They've picked up 2 podiums this season with Sebastian Buemi. The first was in the opening round in Taupo, and the last one was last time out in Istanbul.
In terms of job security, I think Buemi should stay in the car. But after that, it's an interesting one. And let's see, the first sector time made by Verne. Oh, it's cut away annoyingly to Piastri. But equally, I'm keen to see what this guy can do during the first sector.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Piastri is the reigning Formula 3 champion from last year. Very, very consistent was the Australian. And now he's got a chance to prove himself in the manner. He's 3 tenths away from PK's time. I want to have a look at Verne's because he starts his flying lap before Piastri.
Here we go.
Here we go. So Verne is faster than Piastri in sector 1, but he's not quicker than PK. So Verne's just coming through sector 2. It's almost identical to PK. So this could be the part of the racetrack where Verne finds the time.
Yeah, I think the BAR has more power than the Manor. I think by some 10 horsepower, I believe. If I remember correctly. But so I think in the last sector should be fine. It's down to driver skill then, if it makes any difference. Let's see if he comes across the line during the last sector. He's going to post a second place time, 1:38.4. That's not bad. Let's see what Piastri can do.
So Verne 3 tenths away from PK's that time. Piastri coming through is still considerably slower than PK, so I don't expect him to go to the timing pages with this run. It's a 38.9. He's nearly a whole second away from PK's lap time. Given the performance of the Manor this season, you have to say there's more in Piastri than what meets the eye.
Yeah, and especially when between the Scuderia Italia of PK and the Manor, there's only 2 horsepower difference actually in favour of Manor. So that's quite an eye-opener regarding PK, that's for sure.
Catherine Legg also on a flying lap in the MasterCard Lola. The team have been struggling so much this season. I think it's safe to say they are going to be the favourites to be relegated to League 2 for next season. But let's see how Catherine Legg gets on to put herself in the frame of a race for next season. She's half a second down in sector 1. In sector 2, she's 4 tenths down as well. So she's 9 tenths away from PK's fastest lap time. So I would say that she's going to be in the realms of where Armstrong and Beddoe are. Over the line she comes, and it's a 39.6. So she goes in front of, well, she's behind Beddoe actually, so she's set the slowest of all the 9 times.
Yeah, that Lola has the least amount of power on the grid compared to most teams. So yeah, to go ahead, that's not too bad.
Yeah, Guan Yu Zhou, Felipe Nasr, and Louis Delatraz are the next 3 drivers to go out. Guan Yu Zhou next up in the BMS Scuderia Italia. How do you think he's going to get on?
I'm keen to see what he can do in that car. Let's see. What Scuderia Italia is in, isn't he? So this is going to. In terms of comparison, will he go fastest? I don't think so, because in terms of at least resume is concerned, PK probably has a bit more. So I would say PK will probably stay ahead of Guan Yu Zhou.
So Guan Yu Zhou looking to impress in the Grand Prix World Series. He is the current leader in the FIA Formula 2 Championship and part of Alpine's academy. And could he maybe next year or the year after become China's first Formula 1 driver? That'd be a fantastic sight for world motorsport.
Yeah, we're still waiting for him to come out. He's just coming out of his pit box now. So, yep, here we go. Let's see what he can do. His teammate has put up a time which has not been reached yet. So, will he eclipse that? I think that's the right word.
Yes, eclipse is a good word to use, Chris. We haven't heard that word being used today. But Zhou is out on the racetrack on an outlap. And, yeah, I mean, Zhou's another one that I think with so many names that we would have thought had been chosen for the Grand Prix World Series but haven't. I think that's going to spread the options wide open for each of the team managers for season 3.
Yeah, certainly. And I also think Dan Tickton might be as well. I think he could. Yeah, I think we know how fast he can be, and compared to Guan Yu Zhou's not bad. And here's Felipe Nasr, and we're gonna see a Simtek. We're gonna see one of the Delatrazes. Let's see. This car is a lot faster than the cars that we've seen already by some 30 horsepower. So so it could be fastest just by that alone. So let's see, shall we? If this time goes fastest, then yeah, I don't know what to think.
Yeah, well, Delatraz has an opportunity to go towards the top of the timing pages, but I'm sure Scott Woodward will be thinking more about the driver's capabilities rather than the performance of the car itself. The Guan Yu Zhou is about to start his final lap in the BM Scuderia Italia. They've showed some strong pace over the whole of their time here in Istanbul. Pietro Fittipaldi, I think he did a stellar job before he retired. I'm just trying to remember where they finished last week. They finished 5th with Andre Lotterer, but Fittipaldi pulled out. He was running in the midfield, I think it was Fittipaldi, but Andre Lotterer came home in 5th place. And not to forget, they did win in round 5 of the championship in Fuji with Lotterer. So this is a good opportunity for them to make their way up the order towards, between now and the end of the season. They're on 76 points. They are 6 points behind AGS and another 13 off Arrows in 4th.
Not forgetting, he won the race in Japan, but he also qualified 2nd, so that car can get to the front. It can get to the front, but to be fair, in this era that we've had in this since the last power upgrade, it has been sort of sprung to only one team regarding that. So it's sort of like a best of the rest in terms of qualifying for certain. But a fifth place qualifying for Fittipaldi in South Africa, it's not bad. So and a 7th place for qualifying, and they've only moved forward in both those 2 races. So yeah, I think encouraging signs for the Scuderia Italia.
Yeah, and Guan Yu Zhou, looking at his time so far, he's over 3/10 away from PK in Sector 1. In Sector 2 alone, he's another 3/10 away, so he's, I would say, 6 to 7 tenths away from PK's lap time. Now that's surprising.
That is very surprising. So is PK going to be hot on people's driver market radars in the next season, or even this season?
Yeah, I think he will be in the coming races for the season. I think he's going to be one to definitely be inherited by one of the team managers. Zhou goes over the line, and he's over 8 tenths away from PK's lap time. That's really disappointing from Zhou.
Very disappointing. And may I point out to people that PK is a free agent. He's not a reserve, so he is available right now as it is, on sale now as it were. So if anybody's out there that needs a driver, PK is completely free.
I think there's going to be a lot of changes between now and the next round in Birmingham. I think that's going to be quite a busy thing for you, Chris, as one of the developers for the RML to get the driver's helmets sorted and all that. Anyway, yeah, Felipe Nasr, over 3 tenths away in Sector 1 from PK, is another 2 tenths away in Sector 2, but I think he's going to go in front of Guan Yu Zhou here this time. It's a 39.0. Oh, no, he's not. It's a 39.0. He's lost time in the last sector, so clearly the Prost lacking some straight line speed.
Look at this.
Louis Delatraz in the Simtek, faster than PK in sectors 1 and 2. He's most certainly going to go to the top of the timing pages by a tenth of a second, yes. So, Louis Delatraz, fastest of everyone so far, on a 1:37.9, but he's not as quick, I don't think, as Alex Lin. So if you were to compare his time to Alex Lynn. He's actually not faster than the top 5 in the League 2 session.
He's not. But I get that Simtech, the car spoke, I think, more than the driver realistically on that one. And the fact that PK in a Scuderia Italia that's 30 bhp less than that Simtech is only a tenth away. PK, guys, PK.
Yeah, well, can PK Jr. himself live up to his father's name? His father, Nelson Piquet Sr., 3-time Formula World Champion, twice with Brabham in 1981 and 83, and the last of his 3 titles came with Williams in 1987. Clearly one of the most prolific drivers. Nelson Piquet Jr. wasn't quite to live up to his name in real life Formula 1 when he was with the Renault team, but he could be someone to look out for in the Grand Prix World Series.
Most definitely. So who have we got coming out next after this batch?
So we've got Takuma Sato in the Onyx, and then after Sato it'll be Nabil Jeffrey in the MasterCard Layla, and the 15th driver to go out, that will be Dan Tittum in the Midland.
Ooh, interesting. I'm keen to see what he can do.
You just say Sato currently in. Yeah, Sato I think is just making his way out onto the racetrack, or he's just stuck in the garage with the what you call it, the leaderboard. That sometimes
monitor.
The monitor. There we go. That's the word I was after. The monitor on top of Takuma Sato's dash, as he watches, as you can see, Nabil Jeffrey looking on to see where he needs to find time. I think he's got to try and get in front of Leg, don't you think?
Yes, most certainly. With half an hour to go in the session, they're just getting their setups and that sorted. Regarding these next 3 coming out, Sato, as we can see, rolling out. He will want to post a time that is faster than Sims. He'll want to. If he doesn't, then I think he'd be out of a job, period. And then, not gonna lie, that wouldn't be a bad free agent for people to pick up. Will he? Do you think he'll be faster than Sims?
I think he will be. And not to mention, he's a 2-time Indy 500 winner, so with all that experience under your belt, he's the kind of a driver you would want, Chris.
That is particularly true, yes, me in particular with my Indy likingness, but to be fair, Sato, you're not going to be in that team, mate, I'm just going to tell you now.
Well, if he does ends up out of a job, I think that would be very, very hard on him, if I'm honest with you, because he's done a splendid job for Ryan Ferris since he's come in.
Yeah, that's very true. Equally, I think the addition of Bourdais really has been a nice one, because in the first season he wasn't at all happy with him, was he? And then he sort of said this season, okay, Bourdais not going to be there, but in reserve. And me and another one of us in here, Topher Smith, we both thought that Bourdais deserves a chance at some point, and he did. And what's he done? So you can't really talk.
So Sebastian Bourdais doing what Helio Castroneves doing last time in the last League 1 race in Istanbul by winning from pole position, I believe, as well. So, and we're just right on board with Dan Tittum at the moment, and we were expecting to see Takuma Sato, because he's just started the lap, hasn't he? He's just started it now, actually. So Sato on his flying lap in the Onyx. What time are we going to be expecting? Well, I don't expect him to be ahead of Delatraz, but he definitely needs to try and get ahead of his teammate.
If he is behind PK, that would be equally interesting for his stock as well as PK stock. I'm riding on the PK train right now, because that is very interesting. But as he's coming through these first sector scores, he's bombing down now towards the first sector line. What is he going to post? Is he going to be a fastest? No, he's slowest by over a tenth and a half on Louis Delatraz. I never thought I'd say that in the same sentence, to be honest with you. But he coming out of the infamous turn 8, or famous turn 8, I don't know which way the best way to put it, but bombing it around, clipping the last apexes, heading down now to the second sector line. Will this be any closer? In terms of driving ability, possibly, but in terms of power, he might lose it in the final sector to that Simtech. Let's see, he's a further 3/10 away. God, that puts him in the clutches, possibly, of Sims if that car's power does not live up to it in the final sector.
So Sato very much, I would say, pretty much effectively on the bobble in regards to where he needs to end up. He may, I think he will go in front of Sims. I don't really see him getting in front of Javal, if I'm honest with you. So I think it's going to be sandwiched between Javal and Sims, but we'll see as he crosses the line. Takuma Sato in the Onyx. Where is he going to end up?
Right where you said?
Yeah. Well, you say that. Sato is in fact ahead of Williamson. So Sato goes up to 4th place ahead of Williamson by only 0.02 of a second. He is behind Jean-Luc Verne, but I think Ryan Ferris will be satisfied I should say, with Sato's effort there. He's most certainly not someone that you should be thinking about dropping. But we'll go to Neville Jeffrey now in the MasterCard Lola, who is only 3/10 away from Delatraz's time, and he's set to 4/10 down as well, so he's about 7/10 off the pace. So this is still a promising lap actually from Jeffrey, as we watch him crossing over the line. There's Dan Titson behind him, who will be completing his lap, I believe, as well. So Dan Titson posting a 38.9, Jeffrey posting a 39.2. So Jeffrey faster than his teammate considerably by over 0.4 of a second. Dan Titson's time is slower than Williamson by 0.4 nearly. So it's a bit of a... I think it's still relatively close between these guys, but Jeffrey will be impressed with his effort.
Yes, definitely. But I'll tell you now, at Lewis Williamson time, considering that I don't really know much about Lewis Williamson, that's quite encouraging. And considering how Thiago Monteiro isn't doing the greatest, as we see there, Takuma Sato coming into the pits, as we see Thiago Monteiro is not doing the greatest in that Midland, I think a switch could happen here, because I'm actually very encouraged by that. But if I would like, I would be encouraged by that.
Yeah, I would be encouraged as well, and he is... I don't think he's in the reserve role, he's more in the test role, so would that make him a free agent?
I believe, yeah, if he's just in the test role, that's 100% a free agent, yes. So anybody could pick up Lewis Williamson. First come, first serve on that one. Yeah. And may I say, as is PK.
Well, we can't deny that PK is very much in the market at the moment as well. And Louis Delatraz is not in the market, he's currently the reserve driver at Simtech, so unless Scott Woodward decides that he's willing to lend Louis Delatraz out to anyone, then it's his driver to keep for the time being. So looking at the next few drivers who are going to be going out next, we've got Jean-Denis Delatraz, the second of these Simtex, and it's Christian Klein in the Prost, and Jasmine Jaffar in the AGS. Correct me if I'm wrong with my pronunciation there, Chris, unless I've pronounced it correctly.
I've been bad at pronunciations today as well. I said Catherine Legg's name wrong earlier, so I think I'm the last person to, especially when I don't really know enough about Jaffa, Jasmine. There you go. I'll just say that.
Well, I'm just looking at Jaffar's CV actually as well, and looking to see what he's actually achieved during his racing career. He's won the Formula BMW Asia Championship in 2007. He was runner-up in the British Formula 3 Championship in 2012, runner-up in the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup in 2016, and the most recent achievement he has done, I think, is probably either in the World Endurance Championship season of 2018-19 with the Chucky Chan DC Racing Squad in class of LMP2, fourth in that, including winning in Fuji, and there's also Blancpain GT he's done races in for the 888 Race Engineering Australia squad.
Not bad, really. In that Jackie Chan team, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
that.
Showing some good moves whilst he was at it, I assume.
Oh yeah, and now we can see Jean-Denis Delatraz. I in terms of just thinking about age, I don't see him going faster than Louis Delatraz. I just don't see it. But of course, Scott was very keen to put these two in this fast car. So I don't think he'd do any driver changes, but it's keen to see here. If PK gets ahead of Jean-Denis, I think that's very. I can see Jean-Denis being quite down there, probably to even maybe a second behind Louis.
Yeah, well, if he can get in front of Catherine Legg, who is currently 1.7 seconds off the pace, then you've got Luca Badera ahead of her, then it's Marcus Armstrong. So I think if he can even get in front of both 40s, that'd be quite impressive. And how ironic would that be, because he previously raced the 40 last season.
Yeah, definitely. But now we just saw for a glimpse there, Christian Klein, I'm going to put it to you now. I'm going to actually ask you, how is your season going, would you say?
Not very well, if I'm honest with you. But bearing in mind, last season, if you remember, the first 4 races we didn't score a point. I think by the time the budget bonus came in, if you remember, because the bottom 6 teams in last season, those teams were given like a £4 million bonus to spend, and Pross were one of them. We given that, and they used it, and we used it, and we ended up almost the fastest team every round.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so De La Rosa managed to get 4 pole positions. I believe he's still got the most pole positions of all time, unless I'm mistaken. But in terms of this season, not very good. De La Rosa has been off the pace, not very good in qualifying. And Alguersuari, even with him missing 2 races, he's doing better than De La Rosa. And given that Naz has been performing brilliantly in the 2 races he did, or one of the races he did, I'm pretty much in limbo with what I'm going to be doing going forward, because we need to make sure we stay in League 1. So if I have to make some sacrifices, then so be it. But back to the action with Jean-Denis Delatraz, who's 6 tenths down on his son's lap time in sector 1. In sector 2 is another 4 tenths off, so he's over a second off the pace is Jean-Denis Delatraz. I think what's going to save him between now and the end of the lap is the straight line speed.
Yeah, a lot of power now. 765 horsepower is in that Simtek, I can tell you now. And just to put that in terms of reference, the fastest car in League 2, the Life, was 795 horsepower. So if there was a mashup of leagues, you'd see the Life car be faster than this, but that Life car is a heck of a lot less unreliable than this one. And even this is an unreliable beast in this league.
Yeah, so Jean-Denis Delatraz crossing over the line to post a 1 minute 38.9, which puts him in front. I'm just trying to have a look at the times actually, because they're all very, very close. He's actually in front of Alexander Sims, albeit it's an identical lap time. Christian Klein has posted an identical lap time on the board as well. So we've got 3 drivers posting a 1 minute 38.98, and I think...
Sorry if I interrupt you, but Jaffa just put in a belter for Sector 3 in a car that isn't even the most powerful.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable lap time from Jaffa, who has just posted a 1 minute 38.1 to put him 3rd fastest behind Louis Delatraz and Nelson Piquet Jr. That's an amazing lap that from the Malaysian. But going back to my point, I think, with the 1 minute 38.9, Alexander Sims posted that lap time first, before Delatraz, and then Klein. So in fact, it's pretty much role reversal. So Sims will be ahead of Delatraz, Klein will be behind Delatraz.
Yeah, that's very impressive that all 3 drivers put the same time. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, Klein, comparing his lap time to Felipe Nasr, he's only just less than a 10th ahead of him. But if you look at how close it is between Klein in 8th and Nasr in 14th, it's less than a 10th.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say as well, if you consider the power of the Simtek compared to the Christian Klein, Jean-Denis in the Simtek and Christian Klein in the Prost, that says something about the driver, really. That says to me that Klein is definitely better than Delatraz. Jean-Denis, that is.
I think it's pretty much safe to say so as well. So who are the next few drivers to go out onto the circuit? Guido van der Garde is next in the BAR, followed by Gary Paffett in the Arrows and Oliver Rowland in the Super Aguri.
Interesting to see there about see Gary Paffett, the 2-time DTM champion. Is keen to see what he can do in an open wheeler. Of course, he was McLaren test driver or reserve driver for a long time?
Gary Paffett.
Yeah.
I think so, and I think it was on Mercedes' radar actually as well. I'd have to have a look at that. But I know obviously he's done some work for Mercedes in DTM and of course in Formula E when they were HWA Race Lab before they were merged as Mercedes EQ Formula E squad. But in regards to Formula 1, he was part of he was testing full-time for McLaren during the 2006 season alongside Pedro de la Rosa, and in 2016 he was signed on with Williams as a simulator driver alongside his duties in DTM.
Not bad. But that's all there. Now we see Guido van der Garde coming out now in the this is going to be interesting. This guy's resume isn't that bad either. Not gonna lie, you know, Guido van der Garde, he's won a junior category title. He's won 10 races, I believe, as well. And we looked this up. He's done at least like 130 races in relevant junior category, which is a heck of a lot.
And he's looking at his CV as well. He's won the Formula Renault 3.5 series in 2008, third in GP2 Asia series. He was only doing 4 races in that one. 2016 European Le Mans, he won that with G-Drive Racing. And I don't think too much else. He's also mentoring one of the drivers in the Formula Regional European Championships, a 15-year-old Dutchman called Thomas ten Brinker, who's racing for ART this season. So he's basically mentoring him during this campaign. But how will he get on in the Super Aguri? That's not the Super Aguri, the BAR. Sorry, I was just looking at the Super Aguri car but he's actually in the BAR is Guido.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to look at, considering that car it's not a bad car. It genuinely isn't. It's just been a bit unlucky. But now we're looking on board with Oliver in the Super Aguri, which is one of the better cars. I believe that Super Aguri are first in the championship. Unfortunately, the boss of Super Aguri has lost his throat, I'll say, in comedic terms. He can't speak at the minute, but I'll speak on his behalf that he's very happy with what their team is doing in first place. The fact that, you know, he could be comfortable to win the title, possibly. I don't think he's thinking about it, but as the races go on, he surely must be thinking about it more and more.
And Van der Garde looking to impress as well. I hope Topher Smith doesn't have a lump in his throat by what he's been seeing in the boys so far. As well as Borgo, that'll be quite a travesty if it was the case. Van der Garde posting a 33.868. So Van der Garde showing some really strong pace in the first sector, only 400ths away from Louis Delatraz's time. What is his sector 2 going to look like, Chris, do you reckon?
It'll look better than the sector 3 time, I'll tell you that for now. Because that BAR, it's got some 20 bhp less than the Syntec. So what's he going to post here? It's 2/10, so not bad, but I think the last sector will be a little bit off it, if I'm honest with you, unless he does something magical in the last few corners, which is very likely. But I imagine this time it could be above Sato's, maybe?
I think he's going to be pretty much on par with Jean-Luc Verne as he comes through the last turn onto the pit straight. Guido van der Garde for BAR. Where will this put him? It'll be a 38.1, which puts him in. Wow. It puts him in front of Verne by 0.2 of a second. Now that's interesting on Tom Butterworth's I was going to say regime.
Yeah, and also only a 10th less than that powerful Syntec. So that's good. And now we see Africa up there. This is very good, going ahead into third place with a 138.1. 1.5. Very good.
Faster than Jasmine Jaffar, but only Nelson Piquet Jr. and Louis Delatraz are ahead of him. So Gary Paffett posting a decent time there in the arrows. Oliver Rowland posting a 38.2, which is, looking at the timing pages, he's faster than Jean-Luc Verne, but slower than Guido van der Garde. That puts him in 6th place.
Who's faster than all those guys? May I mention that Brazilian's name again?
Yeah. So Louis Delatraz fastest ahead of Nelson Piquet Jr. Then it's Gary Paffett third ahead of Jasmine Jaffar. Then it's Guido van der Garde in 5th. Oliver Rowland in 6th. Then we've got Jean-Luc Verne, Takuma Sato, Lewis Williamson and Lloyd Javel running out the top 10. The next set of drivers to go out is Daniel Juncadella, I should say, as the runner in the Minardi. That's his teammate Mark Genet and Jake Dennis in the Manor.
Yeah, I'm keen to see what Juncadella can do, because I think he's a guy, I think, who can put out a very, very good lap time. Very good, because I looked up in his last relevant season in his junior Formula E. Not only has he won 2 titles in junior Formula E, but in his last season, out of 8 races, he was on pole 5 times. So he can post a lap when he needs to on quali day. Will we see that here?
Is that Daniel Juncadella or is that Jake Dennis?
Juncadella, sorry. Juncadella, I meant to.
Yeah, so Juncadella could very well be an option for, well, it's officially known as Teapot for now, but he's currently working with, well, we are waiting for a team manager to be picked. It was Alex Goldsmith, but due to his commitments in real life, his team is pretty much vacant as far as we know, as the amount of power and reliability with the budget he's given, it pretty much goes half and half every upgrade window that comes around.
Yes, that is very true. But one thing that will go against Juncadella is that he is in a Minardi. It's got one of the least powerful cars on the grid currently. So, but if he posts a modest time, like say near 10th, I think that could possibly put him on the market for somebody. I mean, 10th might be a bit of a reach, but what do you think? Do you think he can get that high?
I think he can go between Javal and Clean, because if you look at the gap between Javal and Clean, it's a quarter of a second. So if he goes in between those two, I think that'll be a brilliant effort from Juncadella. And he's still relatively young. He's still in his late 20s, early 30s now. Looking at Juncadella's CV, if I can find his CV again.
He's 30 years of age. Sorry, he's what?
He's 30 years of age. He turned 30 last month.
Yeah, so still in the prime window, as it were, for a driver. It's just because he's in that Minardi, which will make it interesting, because that's what some 40 brake horsepower less than the Syntec. So that third sector will not look nice for him, nor will it be for this man, Marc Genet.
No, and Marc Genet already familiar with last season's car, but this obviously the livery is different this season. He's gone for the 2002 Minardi in comparison to the 2003 Minardi livery that was used last season by Alex Goldsmith's team. But I would expect to see, this is one of the things I look forward to, because even though you may be on paper a slower car, if you can outperform it, that's what's going to make you someone a better driver than what shown by the car itself, which if you remember back in 2002 with Mark Webber's pace and of course Fernando Alonso all those years back, these are the kind of talent that you look out for, and you could compare that with like George Russell and the Williams.
Yeah, you definitely can. If you're outdoing the car, then increase your stock, as it were. Will people want to buy into it? That's the main question. But let's see if Juncadella could do it. Let's see what his first sector be. Remember, in a very lack of horsepower car compared to Syntec, and only 400ths away in that first sector, considering that in the car with less power. I think that is not that bad.
It's not bad at all, but it's when he gets onto the back straights, that's where it's going to be dogged for him, a little bit more dogged, but that's where he needs to find times in the first and second sector. He wants to be on par with Delatraz, ideally, if he can, or a 10th or 2 away, no more than that. But let's see what he can come up with here, as he comes out of turn 10.
You called it.
Yeah, it's a 31.6 in sector 2 alone, he's less than a 10th off, so I think overall he's a 10th away from Louis Delatraz's time by the second sector. Now this is the interesting part, sector 3.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time there, but if he's a good driver, he can get around these corners better than Louis. It's that long back straight which will cost him, and this little stretch here, what will he post? This is coming across a line now, or coming up to it. He's going to come across with a posting, a time worthy of third. Wow.
That's a brilliant lap time from Daniel Juncadella, who puts himself third fastest in the Minardi. Like Javal so far this lap, 2 turns down on Delatraz's time in the Subaru Guri, and so far in sector 2 he's had a very poor second sector, it has to be said. And sector 3, not sure what to expect, but Subaru Guri is one of the faster machines.
Yeah, it's the second running, I believe, so he's done his personal best, hence why it's green in sector 1. But at least he's going faster than what he previously did in the first sector. But yeah, let's see if he comes to his line and improves on 11th. Let's see if he does indeed.
Well, he's already done a lap in this session actually, hence why he's gone back out there again. I don't know why he's gone back out there again, to be honest with you. But Marc Genet's the one we need to look at, which we do see now, and I think his lap is pretty poor, if I'm honest with you, compared to Juncadella, as he goes 16th fastest with that lap time, a second off the pace, but that's pretty disappointing by Genet's standards.
Not that, he's 9/10 slower than Juncadella. That one, see, Juncadella over 1 lap, that is not bad. So, people, look at this. Juncadella, I think he is a complete free agent, if I'm not mistaken. So, So, guys, another one to look at if you're struggling.
What about Jake Dennis? Because he was on a flying lap as well in the manor. Has he gone out yet? I don't know if he has. He probably hasn't. But you can see
either has and we haven't seen it, or it's just a case of we're waiting for it because, of course, these cars seem to come out in threes, and maybe Lloyd DeVal's taking that spot, and we'll see Jake Dennis next.
Yeah. So I think Jake Dennis is going to be one of the remaining 3 drivers actually, because that's probably why Javal's gone back out to make up for 3. On track rule, the 3 on track sort of rule, if you want to put it in those words.
We saw that in the last session when Karun Chandok and Hans Binder came out for a second time, didn't we? So and most likely be the case now. Andy now comes in, allowing other drivers to go out.
Yeah. So the remaining 3 drivers to come out in this session are Jake Dennis, Rafael Marciello, and Jolyon Palmer. So 3 interesting drivers to look at to close this young drivers test.
Yes, most certainly. Jake Dennis would be an interesting one to watch if we can see him now with his monitor sat in the pits, probably just going over a few little rituals or routines that he does before he goes out. I mean, some drivers have like routines, don't they? Like some, I think is it Helio Castroneves before a race he tunes into some bits of music and all sorts before he goes out and all sorts. Yeah. And apparently, I remember this coming up in a Sky Sports thing. Apparently, Sebastian Vettel only gets in his car from one side.
Yeah, and I think Damon Hill's pretty much the same as well. He usually gets in, I can't remember which side it was, but he usually gets in from one side only, as he felt that with bad luck for him to get through. And I think that's pretty much the same thing of which side of the bed do you get in and out of.
Yeah, same thing. And now Jake Dennis has done all of his pre-lap routine stuff, and I tell you what, he has a gorgeous racing helmet as well as Jake Dennis. The flames on the side, I believe, is the helmet is of choice that he has got here. And now he's in that manor. The manor is as you said, pretty much in the bubble of possible relegation. Will Sam Hall be looking at this and thinking, I'd like a nice time out of this, and seeing how Piastri earlier did a 1:38.9, which actually puts him fairly down, currently in 18th place. If Dennis needs to put something encouraging for Sam Hall here.
Yeah. If I was Sam Hall, I'd most certainly be keeping an eye on this. He is on his outlap at the moment. It's Jake Dennis, so there'll be a little bit of time before he does get round to to start his flying lap in the manor. And thankfully, he does not have anyone who can potentially get in his way, like what we saw with Jean Galea and Christian Lundgaard in the first session.
Indeed. Actually, I wonder if we can bring back Sam Hall in for a second time as this car is actually out on track. Sam, are you there?
Hello.
Yeah, now you get to see a chance to see what Jake Dennis can do. Before that, are you encouraged by what Junker Dea did?
It wasn't a bad lap, actually, was it? And I know you were saying about PK. We have all been informed that all the drivers taking part in this session now are essentially under the employ of the teams at the moment. So you've got first call on either of these drivers. So unfortunately, we can't just go and say, yeah, we want PK, and then before the end of this session, we've got him. Which a bit of a shame.
But even so, some of these teams probably don't want to change who they've got.
No, I mean, I think there's some teams that will be a bit disappointed with what they've seen. Unfortunately, Oscar Bruss, I think he still needs another year or so in junior categories. I mean, he got exactly the same time as Sean Galale, who got blocked, as we saw in the first session. So I'm keeping an eye on Jake here at the moment. He's done a fairly decent first sector, actually. I'm quite impressed by that. So yeah, who's actually stood out for you, Cav?
Junker Dea, actually, not gonna lie. In the car that's 40 horsepower less than the Simtech, and he's only 2/10 away from. I know it's Louis Delatraz. No offense to him, but I think that is very impressive.
Yeah. I wonder what other drivers could have done in that Simtech. I mean, Scott's obviously nice and pleased with the driver lineup he's got at the moment, so really he would just be helping out other teams by running potentially stronger drivers in this session. And I'm enjoying this sector 2 time. I think our monitors are slightly behind yours. Here he comes along the straight. What's his lap time going to be? What is it?
We can tell you now that he's posted he's gone 9th with that time. So he's nearly just shy of 6/10 away from Louis Delatraz, but more importantly, he's ahead of Piastri.
Yes, I think we will we'll take that, and we'll take it under advisement. I mean, I don't think it will change anything for this year, because what we need is stability more than anything this year. But for next season, yeah,
I will say, but though, if it does come to shove, as it were, that you're near relegation zone with say 3 or 4 races to go, might you think about putting in a driver who potentially could be quicker?
Well, probably neither of the two that we've tested today, because they're both, even with that effort from Jake there, he's still the best part, well, just over 2/10 off of Alex and 3/10 off of Marco. So we wouldn't change to either of these drivers, but should 1 or 2 of the other drivers still be available, might be worth a gamble.
We were just looking at Marciello, who's just posted his latest lap time, as is Julian Palmer. We'll just have a look at those times now. Marciello posting a 1:38.3, which puts him ahead of Jean-Luc Verne, but behind his teammate Jasmine Jaffar. And Julian Palmer crossing over the line, the last driver to complete a lap. His lap time has put him, just trying to find it, he puts him 8th fastest, so he goes in front of Marciello, just behind Oliver Rowland.
Not bad, that.
Yeah, I suspect there might be a bit of game playing with people maybe hoarding that third driver who they just don't want their rivals to have in there. So if you've got a particularly good third driver, mainly maybe PK, then you might want to keep hold of him in a tactical fashion. And I'm not sure there's anything the driver can do to get out of that situation in this particular championship.
Very true, very true. But you know, it could be proven to be. Oh, if they were nice enough that they would put them to another team and let the seasons be even closer than they already are.
Yeah, but we're all competitive in this league. I mean, it's a nice thought, but I don't think any of the three of us talking right here would be particularly charitable, especially to a rival. I mean, me and Tom can't afford to be at the moment.
I mean, to be honest, with where me and Sam are in the team's championship, we've got to put everything at it, really, if we were to avoid the drop. I mean, if you were to ask me which teams are struggling at the moment still, I mean, Master of Lola, I think they're pretty much gone, to be honest with you, unless they can have one stellar of a race, which I think is something which, you know, looking at Nabil Jeffrey's time, which was surprisingly quick, if I'm honest with you, that's the kind of driver I think you're going to need to give a chance if you're going to have any hope of staying up. But I think when you look at Prost, Manor, Forti, Minardi, possibly Midland as well, depending on how the next few races go, you have to say it's going to be 2 from 5 to join Mastercard Lola for the drop, and that's going to make for a very tasty last few rounds of the season, if not the last round.
I was going to say also, unless the Grand Prix World Series Commissioner, which is Toby Smith, allows a bonus for teams, which I'm not sure he is doing, but we have to clarify with that. But now the season finishes, do you want to run through the times, Tom?
Yes, absolutely. So Louis Delatraz fastest out of all those in the League One teams, nearly 2/10 clear of Nelson Piquet Jr. in the BMS Scuderia Taylor. There's Daniel Yucadella, who's the surprise of the session in 3rd place. Then it's Gary Paffett for 4th, ahead of Jasmine Jaffar, who in brilliant 5th, ahead of Guido van der Garde in the BA yard. Then it's Oliver Rowland 7th, ahead of his compatriot Julian Palmer. Rafael Marciello, one of the last drivers to complete the lap in the AGS, is in 9th. And it's the reigning champion, Jean-Luc Verne, in 10th place. I'm not sure how he's going to feel at the end of that. There's Jake Dennis, ahead of Takuma Sato, followed by Lewis Williamson in a satisfying 13th. There's Loic Javel, 14th, ahead of Christian Klein in the Prost, ahead of Jean-Denis Delatraz. Alexander Sims will be disappointed with his 17th place in the Onyx. Then it's Marc Genet in 18th. Guan Yu Zhou disappointed with 19th, ahead of Dan Tipton. Then it's Oscar Piastri, Felipe Nasr, Nabil Jeffrey, Marcus Armstrong, Luca Badoa, and the last driver of them all was Catherine Legg in 26th position. And Chris, I think looking at the times between all 52 drivers throughout the 2 sessions, you have to say you've got to be impressed with the likes of Junker Dea, Alex Lynn, possibly Pato Award, David Felsecca. I mean, there's so many drivers you could choose from. Once all the times have been put together for all the managers to look at, they've got to think, I want to try and get this driver.
Yeah, with how much luck, I don't know. But I could tell you now, like there's some of the very Pato Ward was impressive. Alex Lynn in particular, I thought was quite impressive in his car. But I'm still riding that PK train. Sorry, I'm still riding that PK train. But in terms of disappointing, it's not really disappointing about Lundgaard because of course he was held up. But in terms of the other side, Marcus Armstrong. Yeah, I mean the thing to be careful about is he may be 24th, but he's 1.4 seconds behind. When you look at the other league, the equivalent position was over 2 seconds behind. So you have to be careful what you think about that, really. But even so, 24th, Marcus Armstrong, maybe a bit of time yet for him to get a seat.
Yeah, there's a few anomalous results on there, which is why I feel that some of these drivers need to be given another chance, or sometimes a team manager may give them a chance in a race if someone's like serving a ban or something, or they are in desperate need of a better driver than what they've already got. But I think by the time to reiterate my point from earlier, there's going to be a lot of team managers making changes between now and Birmingham. I'd be very surprised if there's no more than 2 or 3 managers making changes.
Yeah, I agree. I won't be making changes, just so you know. But
well, we know Ed Spencer won't be making a change because he's dropped his full-time driver Martin Brundle in favour of whoever it may be. Because if you look at Sergei Sorokin in terms of how he's done in the Force India, 14th quickest overall in the first young drivers test, but his time, looking at it, it's faster than Christian Klein in the Prost. So so it's. I think we could do with a laydown of all the classification, all the results put together, Chris, for everyone to see, and then they can make a decision on what it is they want to do.
That could be done.
Very well done. And so, that concludes the Young Drivers Test for today. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in. And we cannot wait to go racing again next week, which will be at the Birmingham Super Prix circuit that was being used for Formula 3000 in the late 80s. And of course, that was used in Season 1 in the Grand Prix World Series last year. Chris, thank you for your company, and thank you to the team principals that have joined us in the commentary box today. And we can't wait to race next week in Birmingham. From me, Chris, and all of us here at Downforce, thank you for tuning in, and it's goodbye.